Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Anita Jo Intenzo and her son, Chris Levis. You might remember them from a classic episode, one of my favorite episodes of A Haunting, from Season 7, Episode 12, Portal of Doom. If you're familiar with the story, then you're going to there's so much more to it than what they show in that show that we're going to get into. And if you're not, enjoy the ride. For the first time you're hearing this, is an incredible story, incredible experiences that they've both gone through, and we'll get into that tonight. And of course, we have the World Wide Web of Weird. We got a lot of weirdness to cover, and I have a little bone to pick with my hometown I might get into if we get enough time. Some Fourth Amendment rights stuff that kind of ticks me off. We'll see if we get time for that. And then we will have the phone lines open later in the show. Of course, I got Nita and Chris on my one phone line, so there'll only be two open. You'll be able to call in, and I'll give those numbers out later in the show. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get rolling right into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guests, Anita Jo Intenzo and Chris Levis, will join us after the World Wide Web of Weird. And like I said, phone lines will be open later in the show. I have, of course, joining me is my lovely co-host, Jamie D. Let me go ahead and pull her up here on the screen. There we go. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
I'm doing good. This is one of my favorite episodes also, so I'm really looking forward to this.
And we first had them on as special guests during the Bill Bean episode. That we had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, knock on wood, no technical difficulties tonight. But we got a little bit of their story then, and their experiences with Bill Bean, which are incredible. And I'm sure his name's going to come up a lot tonight. What goes on? We'll have Bill Bean will be back on the show. I already got him scheduled. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but he'll be back on the show soon too, because there's so much more to talk to that man about. Also joining us from St. Augustine, Florida, is Rob Audrey himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Himself is doing great.
Rob, I'm glad to have you because, man, I suck so bad at the World Wide Web of Weird running it. So thank you for doing that for us tonight. And speaking of that, of course, we got a lot of weird. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we got a man who decided to build a bomb to get the police attention about an impending alien invasion. This comes from WGAL 8 News. And yeah, it's not from Florida, surprisingly, Rob.
Wow.
Not from Florida. It's actually from Pennsylvania.
Sure it was gonna be.
It's actually from Pennsylvania, where our guests are from. So we're not going to knock on Pennsylvania, but, you know, everybody has something in their states. But yeah, from WGAL 8 News. Bizarre story out of Pennsylvania. A man was arrested for allegedly building a bomb in order to get the attention of police. Well, he got their attention.
One way to do it.
For those listening on our radio network, Paranormal Soup 24/7 live radio, you can watch us at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we have videos and photos sometimes we share, or you can just listen. We got the mugshot of the guy here, David Oxenrider. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. And a bizarre story out of Pennsylvania. A man arrested for allegedly building a bomb in order to get the attention of police so he could warn them about potential hostile aliens. Well, dude, you're the one with the bomb. The weird incident reportedly occurred on Sunday morning when authorities say David Oxenrider approached the manager of a Bahani House hotel where he was staying in the town of Marysville and informed him that he constructed a bomb. Understandably uneasy about the man's declaration, the proprietor of the establishment asked to put the bomb in the parking lot behind the hotel and quickly phoned the police. Authorities arrived on the scene shortly thereafter and defused the device, which they said would have been a genuine threat to public safety had it been detonated. But despite their assessments, Oxenrider insisted that his intentions were never to cause any harm and offered a truly strange explanation for his actions. According to court documents, the man told police that he had an encounter with a UFO ship and aliens 5 years ago. It was told by ETs that humans need to start being good people or else they were going to destroy the Earth with a nuclear laser beam. In an effort to ensure that such a dire scenario did not unfold, Oxenrider informed investigators that he's been trying to share the message with the world, but no one will listen to him. The purported contactee went on to laminate that he had attempted to alert a number of government agencies, I'm sure that went over well, about the aliens ultimatum, but his efforts have been futile because people say he's crazy. As such, Oxenrider claimed that he built the bomb so that the police would speak to him about the ET threat. While it would seem that the man's plan worked in this regard, it came at a considerable cost as he now faces the serious charges of manufacturing a weapon of mass destruction, as well as risking a catastrophe. Yeah, it's sad, you know. This kind of incidents, like, see, those people believe in aliens are crazy. No, this guy was crazy and believed in aliens. Doesn't mean that people believe in aliens are crazy.
And he's in trouble, but when the aliens blast us with that nuclear ray, he's going to be like, ha ha, I have the last word.
All I would love to tell this David dude is that if there is an impending alien invasion, he might be right. What are the police going to do about it?
Yeah.
What is our government agencies going to do about it? How's that Space Force going? Well, there might be a Space Force, but I don't think they're going to do anything to protect us. I don't know. I'm just saying. I feel sorry for this guy, honestly. He actually probably needs medical help, you know. And it's sad that he went to that lengths. They had no one to talk to. And we talked to a lot of legit people on this show that experienced have real things happen to them. They believe from aliens, and it's hard. It's hard to have somebody to talk to, and it goes for somebody who has a mental illness. Maybe he's not, I don't think he's talking to aliens, but he had no one to talk to, and he thought building a bomb he'd get somebody's attention. That's usually how bad things happen. All right, let's move on. All right, this one is residents in a town in Germany were shaken this weekend. My articles. I even type them out now, so it just doesn't happen. It still does. Residents in a town in Germany were shaken this weekend when a bomb from a World War II suddenly exploded and left behind a massive crater in the field. The bizarre event reportedly occurred around 4 in the morning on Saturday in the community of Albach. Much to the consternation of those who were asleep at the hour, a massive blast shattered their slumber and a rumble resembling an earthquake swept across the area. For people listening, there's this picture of this, just this field, and this massive explosion looks like it did come up out of the ground. When authorities investigated the matter the following morning, they were amazed to find a crater measuring 33 feet in diameter and 13 feet deep had appeared in a farmer's field. Police were initially dumbfounded by the discovery, conceding that they were uncertain as to how it could have been formed. However, a subsequent examination by ordnance experts determined that the crater had almost certainly been the result of a World War II bomb that had been a dud decades ago. That is a scary thought if you lived in, anywhere where these, in Europe, that these things could still be laying around and just, boom, explode. Luckily, this was in a field far away from people. But that's a scary thought to have to live with, that these things could still be around. Look at this thing, man. 33 feet wide, 13 feet deep. 60, 70 years sitting there, and then boom. That's a scary thought. All right, this next one is a warning to viewers. Don't show any pictures yet, Rob. Warning to viewers on this next one. This is pretty graphic and pretty incredible, but it is not for the weak of stomach. Yes, it's pretty horrendous. Article graphic content. I put that warning in there. It kept me to eat me later. A Russian man looking like a mummy is rescued after spending a month inside a bear den after the predator broke his spine and saved him for future meals. Or for a future meal. A Russian man looking like a living corpse. Now you can put up the pictures. I think everybody's been thoroughly warned, I hope. A Russian man looking like a living corpse has been rescued from a bear den after he claims that the animal broke his back and left him there for a month. The man, who identified himself only as Alexander, was discovered by hunting dogs in Russia's remote Tuva region, if I say that right, close to the border with Mongolia, local media says. Initially, the hunters thought the body had been mummified. I can totally see. You would think that's a dead body for people that can see the picture. It looks like a corpse. They thought it would have been a mummified body dried by the air, but were stunned to discover that the man was still alive. Shocking video shows Alexander's face and body were encrusted with dry blood and dirt. His skin was deathly white color. He looks like a corpse. And his dull eyes were barely able to open. He looks like a zombie. There's an up-close picture. You should have a couple other pictures in there, Rob.
I thought this guy was dead for sure.
With his eyes open. Look at him. It's like something straight out of a Walking Dead episode. It's a miracle this man survived. He actually lived off his own urine to survive. That is a will to live. Look at him. Wow. And the bear took out a good part of his leg, broke his spine. A month this guy lived.
I can't believe he could do all that with his back broken like that.
I know. It's incredible. He was able to move his limbs barely. He could barely raise his arms. I'm guessing if those hunters hadn't found him any sooner, he would have been gone. It's amazing a month though that this guy made it that far.
No doubt.
He looks like a zombie. I think there's one other picture in there. It's pretty graphic, but go ahead and show it. There should be another one, I think. The fact that he survived, I'm sure he's going to lose his limb. I'm sure he's going to be paralyzed if he makes it through it. Yeah, Rob's seeing it. The bear took out a good chunk of his leg. You can see the bone. Look at that. Sorry, I warned you guys. It's graphic, but that guy lived that's incredible.
Wow, that
I don't know if that's
hardcore, man.
Yeah, yeah. That puts all the survival movies to shame for this guy went through.
Yeah,
and the thought that he had to think about it. He's laying there.
That's
for
terrifying.
days. Anytime the bear could come back. Anytime.
That's a living nightmare.
Yeah. The bear, later in the article, it's a long article, they talk about the bear. They do this. They think they kill something or kill something, or they do kill something, they'll leave the carcass somewhere and let it rot. They like the rank meat. So it probably kept on coming by, waiting for the rot and smelling it, not ripe enough because he's still alive.
But the bear's senses couldn't tell that he was still alive?
Might have just waited. Why bother? Just let him die.
Just wait for him to die?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Saving him for later.
Yeah. Midnight snack. I mean, it's crazy, though. I mean, a month. And imagine the will to live that you have to drink your own urine. You can't move. You're in fear every second this bear's going to come back and finish you off. He didn't remember his last name. In the article, it says, he says his name's Alexander, no last name. He couldn't remember his last name. He could barely remember most things. It's incredible that he was able to whisper or speak anything.
Bet he remembers that damn bear.
Doesn't know the bear did it to him. He was able to tell him that. Yeah. That you won't forget. He knew how he got there, but it doesn't remember much else. That's horrible. Horrible. All right. And speaking of wildlife, you're going to worry about bears. Well, maybe you have to worry about gorilla crows. This is from fm104.ie. Footage of a weird gorilla crow goes viral. A recent video from Japan shows what appears to be a crow engaged in some rather peculiar behavior. The unusual bird was captured on camera by a Kiatro, I'm just going to get that wrong, Simpson, that's an easy one, in a Japanese city of Nagoya. Rather than standing on the ground using its feet like crows typically do, this one seems to be resting on its wings with its legs tucked away behind it, making it look a bit like a gorilla standing on all fours. And this thing looks like a bulked out, steroid pumping crow. The footage quickly gained attention of the social media, has so far been viewed 9 million times. According to the crow expert Collie Swift, however, there is a perfectly rational explanation. What was actually doing is stunning itself, she wrote. When birds sun, they drop their wings and cock their tails at the right angle that could obscure the legs and tail, making it look like they are missing. But yeah, that looks like, a crow on steroids. I would not want to mess with that crow. I don't like
Come at
birds
me, bro.
anyways.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro. Come on, bro. Mess with me, man. I'm a crow, bro. My dad owns a car dealership, bro. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, number 5 from Yahoo News. This is going to be a debunk. I'll just put that right out there this way. But this one's been going around. There's a spooky moment, a glowing ghost, and Yahoo covers this. Of course, they cover the one that I can debunk. The spooky moment, a glowing ghost trapped inside a car park was caught on CCTV. The footage was captured in Manila in the Philippines, shows a mysterious vibrating object near the shuttered exit of the parking facility. The terrified security guard on the duty thought the ghost appeared to be trapped and waiting for the shutters to open so it could leave. That's what a bug would do. But when he went to investigate and the lights came on, the apparition suddenly disappeared. The guard, who refused to be identified because he said he's been mocked by colleagues, and I feel bad for him for that, that's awful, had been working the night shift and was patrolling the building and went to check the recorded videos for monitoring. There was a round glowing object going that looked like it was flying at the exit of the car park. I don't know what it was. The cameras caught it. It's at an angle or a ghost. There's no light in the area where this camera is facing, so it's definitely not a reflection. It's moving like a cloud. I've seen that glowing thing before in other cameras. Yes, you might have. I honestly believe this is some kind of spider or insect on the actual camera lens. Because I've seen this. I've had CCTV footage of my own of an ant going by, and it just bright glows because that IR light's just reflecting right off of it. I think this is a bug.
I would say 100% it's a spider. You can see it doing its little thing, like when they eat or after they eat.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the IR light reflecting off it, right off it. But Yahoo News covers this. There's so much more Yahoo you could have shared that's paranormal, but you go for the video with the bug. I'm sorry, I think it's a bug. I don't think it's paranormal. But I saw it going around, saw people sharing it, and I think, that's pretty probably debunkable, I would say. Let's move on before we run out of time here. Number 6, this is something, I was scared of happening to me on a train, but this happened to a woman on a plane. Tiffany Adams, she fell asleep during her flight and awoke to find that she was trapped alone in a parked plane. Imagine you go to sleep. I've gone to sleep on planes. And you wake up and nobody's there. The plane's completely empty and it's dark. What started as a routine flight from Quebec to Toronto earlier this month turned into a living nightmare when Adams awoke to find that she was the only passenger on the plane. It was around midnight, a few hours after first landing, freezing cold, still trapped in my seat in complete darkness, she wrote on Facebook. I think I'm having a bad dream because, like, seriously, how is this happening? To make matters worse, her phone had run out of power and the USB charging slot on planes were not working because the aircraft wasn't running. I'm trying to focus on my breathing and control my panic attack, Adams wrote. She was eventually able to open the door of the plane, however. There was a 40-foot drop to the ground. Her ordeal only ended after she was able to make her way to the cockpit where she found a torch that she was able to use to get the attention of the airport ground staff. The airline is now investigating how something like this could have happened, because don't they have to count I mean, am I right? They have to count how many people are coming off the plane, right? I mean, they have to know.
They're supposed to.
Yeah. So how did they miss her? We're still reviewing the matter, so we have no additional details to share, but we have followed up with the customer and remain in contact with her, Air Canada said in a statement. But yeah, I thought it was, I think it's regulation. They have to make sure everybody's, accounted for off the plane, right?
How did they not see her when they were cleaning up after?
Well, I guess they don't have very clean planes, obviously.
I mean, they don't clean out the garbage?
Right. Maybe they plan that for later, but still, I feel, I'm not familiar with the FFA regulations or how that works, but I would think you're supposed to account for your passengers, how many came on and how many came off. Yeah, one job.
One job.
But imagine waking up in that plane and, well, what do you do? I mean, she figured it out, she got a flashlight and got that door open. That's what I find amazing. She got that door open. I guess it's an emergency door, but man, wow, somebody screwed up. Somebody screwed up bad. All right, let's go to the last one here. This one has been the most viral, and I think it's a pretty, cool story here. This comes from Unexplained Mysteries, but I've seen it posted everywhere. A woman who died wrote a haunting message. A woman whose heart stopped. Oh, then my article screws up again. Hold on. A woman whose heart stopped for 27 minutes wrote down something unexpected after regaining consciousness. I can't talk. When Tina Hines suffered a heart attack recently, she survived only to thanks to the tireless efforts of her husband and a team of first responders who resuscitated her a whopping 6 times. When she finally regained consciousness, I cannot talk tonight, after a combined total of 27 minutes without a heartbeat, the first thing she did was gesture for a pen and paper. Unable to speak due to the tube in her mouth, she scribbled down the words, "It's real," on the pad. When asked what she meant, she gestured upwards towards the sky. Her niece, Maddie Johnson, was so taken aback by her aunt's message that she would later have it tattooed on her arm. And that's a picture we have up for those who are listening. We have a picture of her niece's the tattoo of how she wrote it. It's real. It's amazing. She's, after suffering coming out of that, she's able to write even that. I mean, you can tell it's somebody was in a lot of distress trying to write it, but she got it across. Her niece, let's see, it has given me, this is from her, it's given me a tangibleness, from her niece, it's given me a tangibleness to an eternal hope that it's not too far away, she wrote. Of course, scientists and medical doctors say, when the brain shuts down or when it's going through this process, there's evidence to show that, there's chemicals released and people have this euphoric experience, and that explains the light, and that explains it. I read, there's more, I found other articles kind of have it, the story piecemeal, but she saw Jesus there in a black gate, and they say, well, it's, your brain, your subconscious trying to do, I don't know. I get the scientist's argument, I get this woman's experience. It seemed very real to her. And, is it definitive proof of the other side? And it's her perspective. We don't have definitive proof. But I think it's pretty inspirational. I think it gives us some hope that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I believe there is. I've seen enough evidence for myself that I believe there's another afterlife or another life after this. I don't know about Peter's Gates and all that she talks about or whatever, but we'll see. We'll see. One day we'll all find out. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. I only have a few minutes left, so I want to get into this a little bit. There's been some controversy. Here, I'll go ahead and pull the screen up to me now. So I'm going to get on my soapbox here. I should have like a little soapbox thing under me. Now, I live in Michigan City, Indiana, and we've recently made a little bit of news in some place. I saw somebody beat me to the punch on this, basically stating what I want to say here really quickly. What was it? The Common Sense show with Dave, I can't remember his last name, but had a good video on this, calling Michigan City people sheeple. I'm a Michigan City person. I'm not a sheeple. But there's a video that was released last night, Saturday night. Michigan City police officers basically cordoned off a bar and blocked people from leaving, and did a warrant searches on everybody in the bar. They couldn't leave until they did a warrant search. Now, Indiana does have a stop and ID law. It's Class C misdemeanor. But that's really for excise. I mean, maybe it's for other stops. But they weren't there for excise. I don't care. I've watched the video countless times. The bar's owner's daughter is the one shooting the video. And I've seen it countless times now. And I've listened to the cops say they never say, they will never give in that this is an excise raid. Because there's no excise. I've not seen one thing in there that's an excise officer was there. I've had somebody post, well, maybe they were outside. I don't care. That was not an excise raid. That was a warrant search, a random warrant search. And maybe this law in Indiana, stop ID law, thinks it gives them justification. But to me, we have a Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure. Are we going to live? I know this is happening in other towns. I know this is happening across the United States. And I know this isn't paranormal for the World Wide Web of Weird, but it really ticks me off that we let these laws go by. That we let, laws that go against our Constitution. I think the Stop ID law is against our Constitution. And I think that this is exactly why we shouldn't have a law like that, because it's being used for just random warrant search. Because what does this remind me of? It reminds me of Nazi Germany. Yeah, maybe I'm a little extremist, but it reminds me of police state. Exactly. Show me. I was looking for a soundbite of that, but YouTube takes all that Nazi stuff down now. You can't have history on YouTube. Unmonetize this video too, YouTube. Go for it. I don't care. But this is what we're facing. Maybe some people are like, oh, you're being too extremist. But this guy called Michigan City people sheeple because they all just complied. Even though the bar owner's daughter eventually gave her ID and did that. I might have got arrested. I'm not just saying I might have got arrested if I had been I don't go to bars, but if I had been at that bar for some weird reason, I might have got arrested because I don't care about the Stop ID Indiana law, because I care about my Constitution, my Fourth Amendment right. And that goes against it. They have no probable cause to search me, see my ID. They have no probable cause. And if it's for excise, the only cause they have is to check my ID to make sure I'm 21. Not to do a warrant search. This is taking a law and pushing it further. I know who the chief of police is here in Michigan City. And I'm not surprised by these kind of Gestapo tactics in my town. And if you have this in your town, we need to speak up. All of us, don't resist it, because this is a bunch of crap. I was a Michigan City police officer for a very short time, and I don't talk about it much, but there's a reason why I'm not, because I started to see where police departments going. I love the police, we need law and order, but we don't need a police state. Okay? We don't need to have to worry about being stopped or detained so they can see your papers. We have to resist this crap. Because you know what? They just keep drawing the line and pushing it back. Rob was just telling me how in Florida you can't vape in your car. Get a misdemeanor. I understand the law for the children in the car with you. I get that. But they're saying not at all. Well, what right do you have? It's my car, me, I'm a grown adult. Screw you. Too much. This is why I hate politics. I don't get into politics on the show because I don't like either party, because either one will take your rights away for their own purposes. Either one wants to invade themselves into your lives in some way. That's why I hate both parties. I'm sorry. I don't see much protecting a liberty.
They get laws like this in place, and inch them in.
Yep. And why do they do it? Because people don't resist.
Yeah, exactly.
And in Michigan City, they didn't resist. Yep. So they'll do it again, and they'll do it more, and they'll expand it. Next thing you know, you're walking out of Walmart, and they're doing it.
Yep.
They're doing it to the people drinking, because I think the people drinking are going to be a little bit nervous anyway. So they'll just shut up and comply, and that's what happened. But we got to stop shutting up and complying. We got to, because I tell you what, power corrupts absolutely, and I see it every day. I see it in so many videos people share, police officers not even knowing the Constitution, going beyond it and abusing people's rights. Just saying. That's it for the World Wide Web of Weird, and I'm off my soapbox. Tonight's guests, Anita Jo Intenzo and Chris Levis, we're going to be talking about their experience. It was featured on A Haunting, Season 7, Episode 12, Portal of Doom. If you haven't seen it, that's great, because you get to hear the whole story pretty much as we can fit in this 2.5 hours of an interview with them. But we will also open the phone lines probably after the second commercial break, and I'll give those phone numbers out. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon. Subscribe. $2 a month gets you access to upcoming soon new podcasts coming to there. All right, guys, we'll be back after the short commercial break.
to the dead. Bring life 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 to the dead. Enter the occult world of necromancy. You were brought here for one purpose. Necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead.
No, please. No, please, no.
And death to the living. Necromancy. Starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without the symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got a medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5x5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guests are Anita Jo Intenzo and Chris Levis. Classically trained as a fine artist, Anita Jo Intenzo and graduated from honors from Moore College of Art and Design in Philadelphia, earning a bachelor's degree in art education. Besides teaching art for over 25 years, she's exhibited her work in many shows, and her paintings hang in collections across the U.S. She started restoring old photos from over 35 years ago and created her business, Past Images by Anita, in 2000, where she preserves and restores family treasures. Photos, paintings, antique dolls, not dollars, as restoration artist. Genealogical and historical societies seek her out for her expert and consultations, lectures, and appraisals. She also owns a hobby store with her son Chris, an expert miniature model builder and painter. Enter the realm, now in their 5th year of business. He is currently writing a 3rd book in his series. Anita recently partnered with her literary agent, Lori Hawkins, and has formed Line Books, a full literary and graphics art service helping new authors bring their manuscripts from editing and process to full publishing. In 2009, Anita Intenzo's life took a dramatic turn when she became involved with a paranormal. She was so profoundly changed by these experiences that Anita became an author and wrote a successful debut book, A State of Horror. It became the inspiration for the episode Portal of Doom on A Haunting, a TV show in December of 2014. One of the show's most popular episodes. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And an enhanced episode of A Haunting, Episode 2, Demonic Possession, that aired in September 2015. And in October 2016, she published her sequel, Dark Transference. And for you guys who don't remember, we're going to get into that episode tonight. There's so much more, I know, to the story than what you get in A Haunting, which I love A Haunting. I love that show. And Portal of Doom is definitely up there as one of my favorite episodes. So it's a true honor. We had him on before, and it's a true honor to have him on again. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. Hi, Anita, Chris, you guys there?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're here.
Sorry for butchering your bio. I'm like hyped up on coffee and still raging mad from stuff going on in my town here. But thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate being on.
So tell, I gave a horrible rendition of your bio there, but tell people a little bit more about yourself and how this all started for you.
Well, as you read in the bio, I was basically mostly in the art field as a teacher and a portrait painter, and exhibit my collections, my paintings. And I was never even dreaming that I would be involved with paranormal anything until 2009, when a dear friend of mine passed away suddenly from a heart attack, and I was made executor of his estate. Not knowing what I was getting myself into, I often say to my son, if I know then what I know now, I don't know if I would have agreed, to carry out the last wishes of my friend. But it involved my son and I. He helped me to get through it, to be an executor of his estate and get his affairs in order. And part of that commitment was to empty out his house for a sale, and the money was going to go to charity. But when we entered his house right after he died, I had not been there for several years, and I had no idea how much hoarding and things were packed away that I would have to go through and try to make sense of where everything had to go to different people. Things were stated in the will that they needed places to go, some of the objects. He was an anthropologist.
Right.
He traveled all around the world. So there were boxes, literally boxes and boxes, hundreds of boxes of artifacts and collections that we had to start going through. And each thing was a surprise because things weren't labeled. When you step into somebody's home, when they die suddenly, you almost feel like an intruder because you're just entering into where they had just left off things. And
he lived alone, obviously, right?
Yeah, yes, he did. His parents had passed away years before that, so he was left the house, and also he kept everything that his parents left
so
behind.
So it's like 2 estates you had to take care of.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we had no idea. We know when you step into the house, okay, you're going to see some disorder because he hadn't gotten to do a few things. Maybe, he was suddenly taken ill. But when you opened up bedroom doors and saw things piled up from floor to ceiling, things just packed away. And that basement was probably the most horrific thing because it was just boxes everywhere and from floor to ceiling. And what we basically did was, we had to kind of make an assessment of where do we start. And we were working with the lawyer, and he said, you have the keys to the kingdom. I go, yeah, thanks. Keys to a nightmare, it turned out to be. So
he had other family you had to distribute stuff out to, or?
Yeah, there was, he had an older brother who I promised him when I went through things, I would pack things accordingly and just label it for him. And he wasn't really supposed to be at the house. He wasn't allowed to be there, but I granted him.
Bad blood, or?
Yeah, there had been some really bad, arguments and sort of like dishonest. The mother of the household disowned her oldest son. So my friend, who was the younger son, he was actually left everything. So it was under my supervision that we packed things away. And he was really angry at me when he met me for the first time. We were trying to get affairs in order, and the lawyer called him and said, your brother passed away. So he comes to the house not knowing if anybody's there. But then I was there because I was trying to, in the daylight, make an assessment of what was really going on. And he said to me, I don't like the idea that you are going to go through all my family stuff and you're probably going to throw everything out. And I said, well, you don't know me. I said, I will, try to promise everything I needed to do. And if there's anything I come across in the will that belongs to you and things that I know that are yours, like I knew my friend for 30 years and I knew his brother in a more cordial circumstance before this bad blood developed. And so what I did was I actually designated a part of the dining room and living room area to just put boxes and store them for the brother. So anything I came across that I thought would be something he would want or belong to him, I would just put those in a box. And he came twice, and he had to get two storage units so he could carry all the stuff out that belonged to him. So I went through everything, and he thanked me later on that he was very grateful because there was his grandfather's Iron Cross. They were German, and this belonged to his grandfather from like World War I. Just pictures, documents, other artwork. He was an artist, so things that he had done for his parents, those paintings and tapestries and things have been just stored in
so you
in a
kind of went through this whole family's life having to do that. Your friend put a lot on you. That's crazy.
There was a 7-page detailed will, and it got to the point where I had to get his brother to write in German so we could let the cousins know in Germany that they were coming into some artifacts and things that I'm mailing off to Germany. So that was fun, trying to get packages made to go to Germany, packages to go to people out west, document things that I came across that I had no idea what they really were, but to track down certificates and things that matched up. So it took us 10 months.
Your friend must have really knew he could trust you.
That's what he said to me. He said, I know I could trust you. And I felt, I have to honor his wishes because I felt so bad that I was not there when he passed away so suddenly. I got called. He had already been brought to the hospital, but by the time I got there, he was already dead.
What did he pass away from?
Massive heart attack, which,
oh, wow.
They brought him into the operating room, but he had already passed. So, he had a massive heart attack. He was only 55.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And in fact, he was, I think he had an asthma condition, and the doctors told me later when they did the x-rays, he had maybe a silent heart attack a few days before, and he was using his inhaler thinking that if he's having problems breathing, it's just the asthma. But the doctor said if they had got to him on that point, he might have survived, maybe with, catheterization, but it actually blew out his heart. It was such a pressure in one of the blocked arteries. So that's why he passed so suddenly. So this was hard to take. I'm trying to go through this grief process, and then you're just, bam, next day, Chris and I are just being thrown into this situation of trying to make head or tail of where all the bills are, seeing what things had to be paid, contacting companies. But yeah, Chris, he was my right hand man. If I didn't have him helping me out, and of course then the later situation with the paranormal activity, it's like one just thing led to another, and it was pretty freaky. Pretty freaky.
When did, I mean, so you said it took 10 months. When did the activity start? What was the first thing that happened that was like, okay, what's that? Kind of situation.
Yeah. I would think, let me see, what do you think, Chris? It was,
it was about 5 months. It wasn't right away. It was about 5 months in.
Yeah.
Started around in May, because we were there January. It was like end of January. And then I guess it was like beginning of May, really?
I think that's when we had
the first, first thing happen.
That was in his bedroom, right?
Yeah, with the music box.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff getting thrown down the container.
Tell us a little bit about that. Like, this first, I always say the first incidents, when it opens your eyes, like, okay, what's going on here? Is sometimes the most interesting.
Well, we were in his bedroom, which was a museum. There was statues all over and books, because he traveled, as I said, all around the world. There was Greek, Roman, Egyptian statues. And I thought, he had a mini museum. Like, he just about had the room to sleep, and everything else was just artifacts all around. And we were systematically going through furniture, the drawers, to see what belonged to the brother and the family. And I came across, at first it was just a wrapped up object, bubble wrap, and it looked like a music box or something that had like a base to it. And then Chris pulls out a figurine, and we realize it's a figure of Scarlett O'Hara that sits on top of this base, and it's her going down a staircase or something from the movie. My friend
Gone with the Wind or whatever?
Yeah, he was a big fan of Gone with the Wind, and did lectures. Pretty much all the artifacts and things I found, I remember him doing like 40-odd different lectures to so many different people and organizations. And he would bring examples of, if he was speaking about a culture, he'd have 50 examples on a table representing something. So I know Gone with the Wind was one of his favorite movies. And I had lifted up the music, the music box piece, and it started playing music. And then I said to Chris, what just happened? I said, the thing's just starting to play. And then we saw a gold, kind of a zippy light or something went between us. And Chris, gold ball of light, and then we heard like a snap, and Chris said, I think it's time for us to get out of this room.
So you saw like a golden orb of light, like zip through?
Yeah, it flashed right between us, and then you heard like a bang.
It was right after the music box started playing, and then it stopped, and then this gold orb was in the hallway, and we're like, what is that? Where is that coming from? Is that like coming through a window, or is that on the wall?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know if it was suspended in middle air, if it was just on the wall, and it just went. As soon as we saw it, went like by, like we like blinked and didn't even know what we had seen. And then it was just like that snapper.
Yeah, snapper. It was. So we left. We just put everything down, went into the next bedroom, because we had okay, let's think about this for a minute.
Right.
And we're only in that room maybe 5 minutes, and then we hear this huge crash coming from my friend's bedroom. And Chris looks at me and he said, oh my God! He said, "What did the whole bookcase from on the wall come down?" That's what it sounded like. And we were like cautiously going into the room and see that there had been these Tupperware bins against the back wall of his room filled with artifacts. We didn't know at the time it was in them. And here, 2 of the Tupperware bins had been thrown from the wall area into the middle of the room and snapped open the lid, and there was these artifacts all over the floor.
It sounded like he was all over, but did he I remember in the haunting they talked about we'll get into the artifact, but it was like from South America. Did he mainly do like South American cultures or?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Well, he had American Indian. This was American Indian things that had snapped open the lid, and there were other bins with South American artifacts, just extra like statues and souvenir things that but at the time we didn't even know what was in those bins, because we hadn't even gotten to the back yet, to start going through things.
Right.
It was like, all I did say, I go, oh, he's got to be really angry that we're moving his things. So I just called out.
Immediately thought it was him, though. like when this
Yeah,
started?
I said, Paul, I said, I'm sorry, we're moving your things out of your bedroom. Do you know that you're dead? I said, I'm sorry. And then everything just stopped. It's like we acknowledged whatever, because I just knew that it had to be him, because he was very protective of his things, and he knew where everything was in his bins, but it's just that he didn't share it with other people.
He was obviously a hoarder. I mean, there's a reason they hoard. These objects mean a lot to them.
And the thing was, I knew him so well, and I got this feeling that he feels like we're invading his privacy type of thing. So I just said, do you know that you passed away? We're just trying to do what you asked us to do, to clear out the house, and then things just settled down, and then we left pretty quick. But I took the music box home with me, because that was like, I just grabbed that and a few things to pack away, because almost all the artifacts and objects that weren't designated to people in the will or his brother were left to me. So that's like hundreds of artifacts.
I was going to say, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, the house itself, they show this kind of like older, spooky kind of looking house a little bit. And was a house like that? Like it was in the TV show, or what kind of house was this? Or how old was it?
It wasn't a very old house. It was from the 50s, a rancher, that it was all one floor, and then the basement was the full length of the house. It was huge. But he had bars on the windows because he had been attempted break-ins had been in there when he was away. He didn't when he was traveling in Europe, he wanted the house to be secure, so he had a security system. The house he had things moved around because he had started painting in his living room. So not only were things piled just because he was moving them out of the way, but there was just things piled because he didn't have any room. He just collected so much stuff. So, but it was like things weren't attended to. And Chris had said to me, he said, he must have been not feeling well for a while, because there were old food in the refrigerator, things, the kitchen wasn't really cleaned up, and there was just this smell of not fresh air being, the windows were shut, right? You couldn't, we had no ventilation in that place when we were there. We had to keep the side door open and just let air in through the screen door, but the basement had no ventilation. There was no outside entrance, and we called that the black hole of death, because it was black mold down there, and we didn't even see a single insect or anything alive in the basement.
It sounds like a feng shui nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it makes you wonder. One of the things that interested me about you watching the show and listening to you guys before, and we had you on before, is the hoarding. Because I've had a number of cases being a paranormal investigator where hoarding was a factor. Yes,
and it's in a way, it's I think mentally you're not really well, where there is something going on in your life that you have to feel like there's a hole that's never being filled. So you have to keep he just would buy books and books, and then his mother was a hoarder. There was 15 wardrobes.
So a family of hoarding. Oh my
God.
Oh
yeah. And his father had collected, but the mother had huge closets and things in the basement, and these hanging plastic wardrobes that hang on a pole. There was 15 of them, and inside each one must have had several hundred pieces of clothing and they were brand new. It still had tags on everything. And the brother did say to me, my mother just would go to a place like Reading Outlet in Pennsylvania, and where things were like on discount, and just buy 10 things of black, 10 things of white. I mean, you'd see in the hangers, everything's black here, everything's blue, everything's red. It's like, oh my gosh, you'd have to be 10 people to wear these clothes. But it was just this family. It was just a perpetual problem, because the mother had been, a refugee from Germany after World War II. So they left a lot of things behind coming to this country. So you are buying and buying things. My friend was a collector. So, he got away with the idea of being a hoarder because he used all his collections in lectures. But everything was just packed away. There was things out, but that was only a small fraction of what was all just packed away in these boxes down the basement, and these Rubbermaid containers. It was like you never knew what you're going to find. I said I was like an archaeological.
That's kind of you're digging through their lives, going through their past and everything like that. But you wonder what, when the activity started 5 months into it, you guys are moving stuff around, starting to pack stuff up. You're disturbing the energies in that home that have been maybe laying dormant the whole time until you moved things and let it loose.
Well, it also affected, and I'm going to have Chris mention about when we would drive towards the house, how he would feel. Go ahead, honey, you tell them.
Well, it was kind of light on the activity before they put the sub pump in the basement. So when they did that trench, that's when really all hell broke loose, and it was like 5 months of torture. But before that, with the paranormal activity just starting, we'd be only a couple miles from the house, and I would start getting like a heaviness in my head and start feeling, just not really that great. You would be okay, and it'll be all of a sudden you'd be kind of like, man, like, I don't really feel that great today. Like you kind of feel like either not like nausea, but just like drained, or just like you kind of don't want to do anything. And it would just be like this heaviness in your head. And then as you got closer and closer, it would just be like, you'd almost get like a headache before you're even at the house. And you're just like, oh man, I got to go put like an 8-hour day in, like sorting through God knows what, and it was just, and then of course the paranormal activity stuff.
I gotta say, you're a really good son. I mean, to make sure, to help her like that. I mean, so I mean, because I couldn't imagine your mom trying to do that task all by herself. So
well, work was slow for me, so I was lucky enough that I had a lot of days to where and it was the winter time when we started in January, so work was slow then anyway. And then like going in like the summertime wasn't too bad either. But like I just didn't want her to, like, as soon as the stuff started, like I didn't want her to go into the house alone. Like God forbid like something throws her down the stairs, or something gets thrown at her and knocks her unconscious, and then you don't know. It was just like, it was a lot of like thoughts in your head of like, you shouldn't be going there alone. You should have somebody with you. I mean, she had a couple friends going with her when I couldn't go if I had to go to work or something. But I said, don't go to the house alone. Like, please, please listen and don't go to the house alone.
Yeah, well, I did.
And if you're going to go to the house alone, then don't go at all. Like, wait till I go with you.
Well, you don't want her to end up like Paul. He was there all alone.
Basically, God forbid.
Which
find her at the bottom of the stairs or something while she's bringing stuff downstairs or whatever, because there's a lot of stuff in the basement.
Well, that wasn't unfounded, because I was attacked in the summertime. There was an outdoor, we call it the garden shed or garden house. It was a cinder block, little structure. I guess it was about maybe 8 or 10 by 12. That was packed with stuff, so we didn't know what was in there. And one day we had one of our friends was helping Chris. A lot of trash just had to be put out all the time, because they just never threw out junk mail or any of the newspapers. So and you're going through jars
that has black mold on it.
Jars of preserves in the basement that had been bought for like Christmas time, and like you didn't know how long the stuff had been in there. So the trashmen must have loved us. They go, oh, they were at the house again. Look how much trash is out on the front. But I was moving things out of the small little garden house, and and there was no one behind me, and Chris and our friend Bill was outside gathering up trash to put it out at the front curb, and all of a sudden, from the small of my back, somebody just pushed me out the door, and I tumbled over. There was a couple of cardboard boxes that they hadn't gotten to yet, and that actually broke my fall. But I had shorts on, and the cardboard edges, I had bruises on the side of my leg for about 2 weeks, black and blue. And it happened so fast that Chris and our friend said, what just happened? Like, they couldn't even catch me. It happened so fast. I said, someone just pushed me. I said, I'm so out of here. Like, I'm done.
You're done for the day at least, right?
Yeah. Because I felt like...
And then before even that, you got a cassette tape thrown at your head.
Oh, yeah.
That I stood in front of and blocked it from hitting
So you're having physical objects just thrown at you.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff that was targeting her quite a bit. And then, And then I got pushed inside the house.
That was
in August afterward.
Yeah, I remember that in the show, that you got pushed down when you were by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
got pushed down in the living room over it was like an ottoman or the hassock, whatever.
Boy,
I got thrown right over that. So.
But during that time in August, before you actually they tripped you to fall, he had 2 different times that same day. He felt like something was trying to trip him. My friend had a cat, and had passed away before he died. And we found that the cat's ashes were, sealed in the box from like the crematorium, and I guess and
you're not gonna get rid of the junk mail. You're not gonna get rid of your cat's ashes.
right. So that was we actually buried that in the backyard. I said, I'm not leaving this dead cat's ashes in the house.
Leave it for the new home buyers. Here you go.
but Chris would tell me that when he would walk into the house, he felt like a cat. You know how they go around your legs? He said, what is going around my legs? It feels like an animal. And he said it felt like a cat trying to almost like go around his legs and tripping.
See, that wasn't in this TV show at all. They didn't mention that.
No, they couldn't.
There was a lot more than we had.
Well, yeah.
It was a 5-hour show.
They want to make a movie. We're trying to get a movie made that would be maybe really show everything. But there was just, we would hear scratching in the wall, or we would smell wet cat at different times. And that's a horrible smell. And,
how did the cat die? Did it drown?
It's not drowned.
And so these were things that would accompany, not just that you're trying to stay focused and professional about, let's get this stuff moved. But there's just so much stuff, like you had to just take a pile at a time. And, we were upstairs first trying to just maybe get things in order for the lawyer so he could start moving. But we knew the basement had to be really in sections going through, because of all the Tupperware bins that were down there, and a lot of it just had clothing. We were using that to store things later so I could bring it to my house. So I had a method to my madness, like, let's empty out the junk that's in the basement. If it's not anything we gave 700 bags to charity. That's how many clothing. God. Yeah, and that's how much it was. Purple Heart, call them, have 40 bags every time. They would make a special pickup, would be for them. And so those Tupperware bins became then our crates, so we could pack the statues and the things that were all left out. And even on the front of the book, on A State of Horror, there's a picture of this woman's statue, the bust of her, and that actually is the bust that was in his living room on a pedestal. That's a photograph that I took. And at one point, people say to me, it's a really cool statue. I said, well, it's a replica of a famous statue that was sculpted in 1850. The real statue, it's called the maiden or the bride. But I always thought it looked like a woman in mourning with the veil in front of her face. So
it's a creepy statue.
Yeah, and
it's cool until you see it bleeding in the living room.
Yeah.
What?
So that was
that scared the crap
out of me.
Hold
on a second. Wait a second. See, that's something else I don't remember being in the TV show. So, tell me about this. The statue was bleeding.
Watch our trailer. There's the book trailer that has
the book trailer has her bleeding statue. Yeah, there was blood coming from the ceiling that dropped on Christopher's pants at one point.
Really? And, now, I have to ask you this because I had Barry Taff on. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a parapsychologist, and he investigated a case I've been fascinated with from San Pedro with a woman named Jackie Hernandez, and they had this viscous liquid coming from the walls, and they tested it. It was human blood plasma, and it had kind of a amberish color. What was it? Did this look like blood? Was it blood?
Yeah. In fact, Christopher,
very, very dark red.
Really?
It was on your shorts. In fact, I said to Chris, did you cut yourself? And we saw it on his shorts leg. And I said, oh, geez. So we went into the kitchen to get some cold water. I said, oh, you got to wipe that off, this stain. And actually lifted up the shorts leg, and he wasn't cut. I go, so as we're trying to wipe it, the blood just disappears. His friend was with us, Danny. Danny said, I saw the blood on your pants. Where is it?
So it's just gone? You know how hard it is to get blood out.
Literally just vaporized.
So when we walked back in the living room, we were just kind of talking about it. Next thing you know, we see blood from the statue, right on her cheek, below her eye.
Oh my God.
And I'm saying, and Danny said, what the heck is going on?
I don't think you used the word heck.
Yeah.
So we keep it PG here. So
yeah, and he's looking up at the ceiling. He goes, "Where is this coming from?"
Right.
And then I said, let's try to document. So I try to go get the camera, and we focus on it, and it's gone from the statue. It's not there.
It disappeared.
It disappeared again. Yeah.
Wow.
And in fact, I was worried that that's going to stain the surface of that statue. I said, but like it'll be at
a
least
real white statue.
Yeah, it's a real white, yeah. And I said, well, at least that'll be like evidence. But then it was just gone. I go, I can't. I said nobody would believe us. But if we didn't have our other friend with a third person, he goes, I saw it.
What was dripping from the ceiling? We don't know where it was.
Yeah, I don't know where it was dripping.
What areas in the ceiling?
It was just. I mean, but that's the kind of weird stuff. But because Chris would get the feeling of cobwebs when he would go down into the basement, and I didn't felt that.
No cobwebs because there's no spiders.
There's no living thing down there. But he'd always say, "What's
like
this
the insects
old
knew
room?"
to stay away.
Yeah.
But you'd be covered in like it would feel like there was like string all over you.
Yeah, well,
I've had that experience, Chris. I've had that experience on a couple investigations, and I couldn't find any cobwebs. I'm looking, but they say it's spirits like letting you know they're there, but it's a weird, creepy feeling when you can't find a cobweb, but you felt it.
Oh yeah, it would happen all day long. Probably almost every time we were there. It was just you'd walk downstairs. It was mostly centered in the basement.
Yeah.
And you would just feel like someone dumped like a whole bunch of like yarn all over you.
Yeah.
Or like strings over you or something. You'd just be like, oh my god, what is on me? And like there would be nothing on you. Like you couldn't clean anything off, but it would feel like it was there. It was awful.
But you know, at the beginning, Jason, some of the activity we were sort of laughing out because it seemed like it was playing with us. And if it was my friend, I said to them, I said to Chris and his friend Danny was really brave. He came the most, but then something happened and he never came back. But I said he would never hurt us. I said he's probably so confused, or if he's between that veil. I said he's not really sure that he died. I said it happened so fast. But then other things started happening that we knew he wasn't alone. There was other things just happening that we started bringing our tape recorder, because we're talking about this is 10 years ago. So we weren't really high tech. I mean, I don't even know, you were the only one who had a cell phone, I think, at the point. But we brought my old tape recorder, and we had a camcorder that we had, and we just started trying to tape things because I said, this is going on all the time. This is not a one-time deal. So we need to document this. And I was keeping a diary. I would write down, fresh in my mind each day, exactly what happened. And that became a good part of the basis for my first book, because I literally had a notebook next to me with dialogue and everything. And I remember what was said and how we did it, because I could replay it in my mind. Like, it was so... like I could see a whole scene even now and remember how it happened, because I do have a partial photographic memory too. But it was just these things that are burned in your memory that happen so crazy. You just, we would go at the end of the day and say, did that stuff really just happen today? Like all that stuff being thrown and just annoying. It would just be like, it would distract us from the real goal of like, let's get this stuff packed up. Let's see what we need to do. But we would have to be stopping, go outside. Chris would have to run outside because he would vomit sometimes, and it'd be so sick to vomit. He ran outside.
As an investigator, I would ask you, because you guys mentioned there's black mold. Did you guys get that tested to see like how much you guys are breathing in, or how much it might be affecting you?
We brought masks.
Well, we wore rubber gloves and protective clothing, but I'll tell you, we got that stuff out first. Like we just. Stuff and just dumped it in plastic bags and threw it out. Like let's clean this up. Let's get all these things, that we could see where it's laying. And then, we would take bleach, but when we had the sump pump put in, that whole area, like we had guys move things and we moved things before that. But once that was cleared out, it's like you didn't see any more of that mold because they finally got the water problem solved.
I'm all familiar with that. That's what I just went through. We just put a sump pump in my basement with my dad.
Yeah, so. I'm so sorry. Like we were telling us about the all that was going on, the flooding, and we had to put a stop to it. I called the lawyer one day and said, if you expect us to continue to be down here, you have to sanction. I'm calling a place that I know that had done work for my parents. They will dig. They have to dig up part of the basement wall there and put a sump pump in, because every time it was raining or the snow would melt, we were getting water in the basement. Yeah. And you can't work in those. I said, I said, it's damp. It stinks down here. And, we would, every time we came home, everything went into the wash or our clothes. You just smelled like you could smell his house on you. And that was like disgusting. It's like, even every so often, there's like a few things in my garage, and they're packed away. They're like statues. Like they're really heavy pieces. And if you just go near it, you smell, oh God, it's his basement again. You could just smell it. It's still in the box of the smell. And it's just like it never leaves you, that it's almost like PTSD or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's what you guys are. I paranormal PTSD. I've seen people go through it because your mind can't catch up to what's going on. These events. I remember from the show as you guys were down in that basement and you were like frantically trying to get stuff out because of the water issue, and something happened then. You had was that the music box time? No, that was a different thing. You guys had something thrown at you down there or whatever.
A lot of stuff thrown at us that day.
Well, right before that we ordered the sump pump, the day before we were concentrating on moving as much as possible the stuff that was along this one wall. And some of it was getting thrown out, but we moved things. And that was really the level of poltergeist activity that we had only seen it on television. We had never experienced it. And this was where Chris was in one part of the basement. I'm in another, just packing glassware that was in one of these break fronts. And he kept hearing things like falling on the floor. Now, This was really a great thing because there was so much on the floor to begin with, Jason. For you to actually hear something falling to hit the concrete, we made progress.
Wow.
A lot of stuff off the floor because there was so much on there that, maybe things had fallen before, but you didn't hear it because of the piles of papers and material and books, like you name it, everything was down there.
Did you guys ever see evidence of rodents that could have done it? Rodents aren't going to fling things at you. I know that, but like,
there was no mice.
We didn't see droppings. There wasn't, as I said, an ant or anything. It was a dead
That's
zone.
weird alone.
There's nothing. You never saw, like when we were going through things that, like the black mold, that we identified, but you never saw any mice or rat droppings or anything on the floor. It was just dust and just, neglect, things just kind of thrown around. But he said to me, what keeps falling? And I said, well, maybe because you're moving things, Chris, and they're almost like teeter-tottering on top of each other, just piled and piled. I said, maybe things are falling. Well, then finally, that was a cassette tape, went whizzing by his face and crashed against the wall. He goes, no, that wasn't me. And that really perked us up. I go, okay, something that's not normal.
Right.
And then the next thing I know, I'm turning around and on a bookshelf, I literally see this book. It's like wobbly and it just plop falls on the floor, and it's the Von Trapp family. It's a book about them. And my friend was good friends with Maria Von Trapp. It's wow. Like, okay, that's a book that my friend would have kept, and that just fell to the ground. And we looked at each other, and I said, "Let's keep our eyes open. Something's not right here." Then things just started escalating. We saw how about the can? With Santa Claus on it. It was on the shelf, and it actually actually moved. It like it took a couple little hops and then fell right off the shelf. Like,
you saw it like jump.
Yeah. Like tiny little hops and jumped off the shelf, and we're looking at each other.
The best was when we're going through we're putting stuff in one of the black trash bags, and one of the work gloves comes off the bench, and it just slowly, like it's in slow motion, just goes right by us like a bird.
Yeah.
And so it's like floating through the air.
Yeah.
That means what you're talking about. It's floating through the air.
Completely still, just watch this thing. It took like 10 minutes for it to cross the room. We're just like, oh, there's something you don't see every day.
There's a lot of things you don't see every day that you guys were. How often was I'm curious? You saw the golden light before when you guys were up in the in the bedroom, his bedroom, and that. Did you see a lot more lights like that as you were experiencing this kind of psychokinetic energy?
Oh yeah, well
we have those. Remember the shining of the bars of light? We have.
Yeah, that's right. There seemed to be in this dark hallway. We would see look like reflections, but let me tell you, the curtains were drawn on the picture window. We just left everything kind of closed, and it looked like these bright little shimmery lights. We tried to follow it, didn't know where it was coming from, but it was like things to distract us. Like how about when the bottle of peroxide came from the bathroom and went
that
for
wasn't too fun because if I didn't duck, I would have been covered in peroxide.
Yeah. Threw a bottle of peroxide at you too?
Yeah. The bottle of peroxide was so old that when it hit the wall, I've never seen plastic shatter.
What?
that's how brittle this plastic bottle of peroxide was. It's probably been there since the 80s.
Oh my God.
But like, it was a full bottle of peroxide that was sealed because it still had the tape on the lid.
Yeah.
But like, if I didn't duck, I would have been probably doused in peroxide, which is probably not a good thing.
Well, what it did, then you see one on the rug and it
bleached the rug.
Bleached the rug, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was a green rug on the floor.
Sure, it was peroxide or whatever it was after so many years.
Yeah, big white stain on the green rug.
Yeah, I mean, but like things just randomly, like my friend took a lot of pictures and he had tons of slides that he used to use in programs. These things used to be thrown around like Frisbees. You'd have like 100 slides during the day, but just like, okay, there goes another one floating, just being thrown across the room, pens, paper clips. Like, we got so in tune, we could pick up when we heard something ping against the wall, go, oh, they're at it again. Here they go again.
Right.
You just could hear because, against the walls, like, we're moving things out. The house is getting a little emptier, but they had fun with the dimmer switch. That was a joke that they used to take.
They would take the knob off the wall.
The dimmer switch, and that'd be thrown somewhere in another room. And, and somebody didn't believe us. I go, well, do you see the switches move now? And they're saying, well, what are they going to do with it? And then smack, it goes into another room. I go, it's the dimmer switch. It's in the other room. They performed in front of our friends. They would be skeptical, and then they come in and see what happened.
You tell them wait an hour, and
you'll say, anymore. And they became believers after.
I remember in the show, like, that these were these were friends you trusted to bring into the home. I mean, what was your conversation with your friends like? I need your help at this house. Did you like pre-warn them what was going to happen?
We would kind of warn them, but not really give them the full scope because we wanted them to come back and help us. So we kind of really didn't like let on. We just kind of like, if things were going to happen, then, we let them figure out if they wanted to come back. So I would just be like, look, we need like an extra pair of hands, we'll buy you lunch. We'll pay you for the day, we'll take care of you, whatever you think's fair. So they're like, oh, okay, cool. I got off from work, or, I'll come and check out, and a couple hours to check out this weird house and and things. I was like, and I said to them, if you happen to, get hurt today, it's not our fault.
You need to sign this waiver form.
I'm just going to leave it at that. And they're like, oh, like, well, we're careful. Like, we're not going to, like, hurt ourselves or fall. It's like, no, it's not that.
It's not that.
Yeah.
That should have been their first clue.
Yeah, so we would say, like, it would be like a half hour to an hour. They'd be like, oh, so, yeah, I'm probably not coming back here tomorrow because this guy just walked in the hallway.
So they saw, that's what I was going to ask, like, seeing physical apparitions. I've heard a lot of stuff being thrown and all that, but
for Danny.
Our friend Danny.
Danny went through a lot of stuff of things being thrown at him hearing a lot of noises. He said he heard a cat meow in the one room. Just numerous things, and he still kept coming back because he actually, I think he found it a little bit entertaining, a little bit scary at the same time, but he was like worried about us going. He's like, you guys should have like a third person.
I would have been your friend. I would have been like, are you guys going ready? You need help? I'm coming.
But like it was all over for him when he was closing the basement door, like where we had walked up and he was closing the basement door behind us. And like, as you're going to turn the light off, he looks downstairs and he sees a full body apparition walk past the stairs and he was out the door.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did he give any description or was it just kind of a mass?
Sure. He gave me the description. He can recite it like it's burned in his brain. And I said, just describe my friend. And he had never saw a picture of my friend. And when he said, and then he said, don't you see that other shadow thing? It's looking right behind the cabinet. I go, Danny, you're special. I don't see anything.
So he could see a shadow person?
Oh, yeah. We actually did see the shadow person around the one of the wardrobes. We had a couple of cousins who insisted they wanted to get the full tree. Like, we want to go into a haunted house, and they actually invited themselves, and I was a little bit concerned.
Right.
I go, look,
this is your friend's home. It's not an amusement park.
It's not an entertainment venue.
I said, but if you want to come in, you want to document some things, because that's in our YouTube with our cousins, creeped out cousins. Let's just say that they got the full experience. They got the full experience.
And then some.
Yeah, because they saw a shadow creature. They heard the get out. They left in a panic.
Well, also they were provoking a little bit.
Yeah, also, yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we've been here an hour, and I thought you guys said it would take an hour, and I'm like, they're not monkeys.
Yeah.
They're not going to perform on cue.
Yeah.
Well, that's the paranormal, man. I always compare it to the old cartoon with the dead frog, or it looks like it's dead and dances and sings for the guy. Hello, my baby, and then as soon as he shows somebody, it's a dead frog.
Yeah.
That's the paranormal.
But it took a while for them, but I mean, they saw a lot, and they had a lot of few. They had a lot more than few. So,
but
that was a one and done with them. They never came back. After that.
The thing was, it kind of put me in a really bad position. But I said, well, just respect. You come in, you want to take some pictures, but that's what we were really cautious with. Christopher only had 2 friends, and then I had 1 or 2 friends that we knew we could trust them. They came mostly to do extra pair of hands because there was no other entrance out of the, exit out of the basement. So you had to go up a stairs.
Sounds like a fire hazard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how.
Up and down the same pair of stairs and only one door to go out.
Yeah, and going through the kitchen door, out through the little was it like a breezeway thing, porch area, and that was out the door there. So but how you go up the stairs and people are up ahead of you and they're just waiting for you to come up the stairs, and then you have something flying from behind you, and it's a statue of Jesus.
Oh my God!
That it has the suction cup that you would put on your dashboard, I guess for But someone said, "Oh, geez," and then Jesus just flies over through the doors and out.
It was a very intelligent haunting.
Very intelligent haunting.
That's what it sounds like, because, like I said, I had Barry Taff on. He's a parapsychologist. He relates a lot of it to, people being psychokinetic agents, like you, Anita, or Chris could be the psychokinetic agent. It's your subconscious or whatever interacting with an environment, and these things. But to me, when it's doing these kind of things, it sounds very intelligent.
She would ask a question, and her friend would answer right
back.
away.
Yeah, it would be some type of thing that I would know was him. And one of the most extraordinary parts, and I think that was in my first book. Chris and I were in the dining room around a table, and we're going through some CDs, and one was from The Sound of Music, and reading off the back like some of the names, and I said, how do you solve a problem like Maria? And Chris had said to me, he says, what is that? I said, that's the song that is sung that, I said, in fact, I said, it's, and I was telling him that my girlfriend's mother played Mother Abbess, and she played in a lot, she had a beautiful singing voice. So we were talking about, I said, don't you remember so-and-so singing, they were singing this from Sound of Music, and that's one of the songs. Well, I go into the living room, and one of these slides hits me on the shoulder, and I pick it up, look it into the light near the window, and it's the scene of Julie Andrews as a bride going down the cathedral in Salzburg, Austria, and they play the music, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? And why would it be that one of all the different film slides thrown at me just as we were saying How to Solve a Problem Like Maria? And I said, you're not going to believe this, Chris, but and I explained to him, I said, do you know what scene this is from? I said, it's from that part in the movie where, people said, why are they singing that? I said, it's like, supposedly, they're not really singing that song as she's going down. They're playing this very, like ceremonial music, but it's like the nuns are almost like singing it,
like a
background thing where they were singing about her at the very beginning of the movie. So this is the kind of interplay that was so personal to me. And I've said to people, you have no idea when it's such an intelligent haunting, or he was a brilliant guy to begin with, and he wrote, and he was a teacher, but it's like he was interacting with me to say, look, I'm here. And I knew there was maybe something. Why is he trying to contact me? Like, why is he still here? And then as we progress, like I'm in my book, you kind of find out like why he's hanging around and
to warn you.
Trying to warn us and get messages to us.
We're going to come up here on a commercial break here soon, but what was the final straw where you're like, okay, I want to bring in some help?
I guess when after Chris...
Probably after I got thrown in, then we started getting scratched.
Yeah, I mean, he was thrown to the ground, and there was like physical attack. and we were worried about the...
Plus, you have voices telling you almost every day to get out.
But, well,
so you were here. You were heard voice that you guys heard it too. It's told you get out.
Yeah, get out. Yeah. And
then we have a lot of capture on tape.
EVPs saying, the devil's coming tonight. But it was like so like residual. Some things are like it was just a multitude of different voices. They were trying to introduce themselves. We knew that there was more than one spirit there. And then we started realizing, is there something happening in the basement, or is there not? We didn't call it a portal because at the time we didn't even understand that until we got the investigators, and then they explained things to us.
We got one of the scratches up on the screen here too. Anita shared some photos we're going to be showing tonight. Let me make sure I can show that before we go to commercial break if my mouse work. But here, hold on. I got to share screen that. Hold on one sec so people can see. So I'm not sure this is photo 33 close-up next day, January 4th.
Okay. Well, this happened in my house a few years ago, but it's representative of other scratches I received. That one was, I was scratched on January 3rd.
It looks really deep.
Yeah, it was right on my stomach.
Oh my God.
I had pajamas on, and I was just getting changed, and when I was lifting up my top, I see these bloody scratches on my stomach, and I go, I didn't even feel anything. Like, what is this? And I had Chris take a picture right away. And then that was the next day, which showed more of the welting up, but I had like 2 pictures. But then
that was home here. But she got attacked pretty, I think even worse than that, or pretty close to that. Quite a few times.
Oh, yeah. Was
friend's house.
Did you notice it? Like you didn't feel the scratch, but you started to notice the burning?
No, it was, before I have felt burning, where it feel like inside you're getting cut open from the inside. That happened to me in the shower, which showed in the actual Portal of Doom episode that was in, and I actually felt that. And then when I saw it in the mirror, but this, I didn't feel the one that was on my stomach that happened a couple of years ago, which prompted our friend Bill Bean to ASAP come up when he knew things were getting bad again. But at our friend's house, there would be like scratches on your arm or around your ankles and things. And you didn't know until you got home, like you're thinking, oh, did I get scratched on an object? But it was happening all the time. So like you're saying, like, what is really causing this? But we were so naive, Jason, and not really aware of all paranormal protocol or what things happened to you until I started reading up on things, because we were sort of, just really brought into this, and we didn't even know how to even like express it at times because we're so new at this, knowing what this was.
We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll get into what happened when you had the investigators come in, and also get into the stuff with Bill Bean came to your own home when it moved to your house. I want to get into that a lot because we got some incredible photos. We showed them last time you guys were on, but I want to show them again because they're just creepy. They're really creepy. They creep me out. All right, guys, we're going to commercial break. We will open up the phone lines too when we come back. Just remember, if you call in, just hold on until we call on you because we'll be talking, have our conversation going. But Anita Intenzo, Chris Levis, we're going to be talking more about their experience in the Portal of Doom. All right, guys, after this short commercial break.
Transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, No one can hear you scream.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
Knights of the road, here's your stallion. The car for freedom. The car for hot excitement. The car for a man who is alone against the elements.
The Waibatsu Thunder.
The pride is back. It's the power of a compact.
Looks small, but it's so big.
Fuel injected.
Inject me.
My Batsu Thunder. On the toll road of life, you have to pay to prove you can. Live the emotion of an individual.
Thunder.
The awesome power of nature distilled into one vehicle.
Wow.
Because after you get struck by lightning, there's thunder.
The Waibatsu Thunder.
Alex Gardner is asleep. He has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it. The scientists want it. But to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all. But he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hey kids, tired of running away from home, then getting lost and wrapping your big wheel around a cow, then having no one to turn to other than that weirdo in the van with the dark tinted windows? Or his friend, your creepy Uncle John? Well, worry no more with new OnStar for Kids. Now you can run away in style with an OnStar for Kids kit installed in your big wheel, tricycle, or cute little smart car. Yes, just in time for Christmas, OnStar for Kids. So the next time you're on your way to Granny's house, or Weekend Dad's pathetic little bachelor pad, and you run over a homeless person in your toboggan, OnStar for Kids will clean up the mess, hide the hobo body, and get you there in time for nappies.
This is OnStar. Do you need someone to kiss your boo-boo?
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Vince, you said before you were waiting for a sign. What sign are you waiting for?
Gozer the Traveler. He will come in one of the pre-chosen forms. During the rectification of the Valdrani, the Traveler came as a large and moving torb. Then, during the third reconciliation of the last of the McKettrick supplicants, they chose a new form for him, that of a giant slore. Many Shubs and Zools knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of the slore that day, I can tell you.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guests are Anita Jo Intenzo and her son Chris Levis. If you remember, they were in a haunting. Portal of Doom is season 7, episode 12. I'm finding out so much. I mean, we had him on a little bit when we had Bill Bean on, but I'm finding so much more to this story that you don't see in a haunting. There's so much more to this and the activity. I mean, heck, I'm interested by the activity that the ghost cat even. The seeing the apparition of her friend, the witnesses there, the blood dripping from the walls. It sounds like so many other cases of psychokinetic activity, but spirits involved. I mean, some want to say it's just the energies and psychokinetic agents like, Barry Taff. I get that. But when you have these scenes give you such personal messages like Anita's talked about, there's got to be something intelligent behind that. There's got to be a spirit involved, and then something maybe darker involved. And that's what we're going to get into. And of course, we will have the phone lines open now. There's only 2 lines open tonight. You can call in on the phone line at 219-230-4444, or you can call in on the Skype ID OOJBlandOO. That's OOJBLANDOO. Call in with your questions or your own experiences to share tonight. I love hearing a good ghost story. Just don't make it too long. It has to be a short one. But call in and just wait till we call you. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. You still there with us, Chris and Anita?
Yes, we are.
So you didn't disappear in the ether quite yet.
Yeah. So, one thing, Amy, you guys are in your house now. You guys still have activity going on now, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, we'll get into that later in the show. But so you bring in this investigation team to the first time to Paul's house, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And who did this team consist of?
Well, this was, I was recommended by a local group, and it was Laurie Hull McCabe, and it was Tri-County Paranormal that she ran from like the 1980s, before it was even like a popular thing, like to have a ghost group. She did a lot of investigations locally. She was recommended that I called her, and she even did like a background check on me to make sure I was legit, because before she brought her team. But as you saw, if people saw Portal of Doom, that was Laurie Hull McCabe, and she brought in 2 other people, a psychic medium and also his wife. And we, for the first time, felt like, we weren't just crazy people, that we explained to her what was going on all these months. And this was now October of 2009, and we were getting interested parties in buying the house, but we didn't want to leave the house with all these problems. We wanted to see if we can get to the bottom of it and find out, could we do a cleansing, or could we move these spirits on, because I didn't want to leave this for the next people buying the house. So so they came, and as soon as they walked in, Laurie told us later that as she walked into the front door, something said to her and almost like mocked her or laughed at her and said, "Your holy water isn't going to do you any good." And she happened to have some holy water in her case that she carried, along with Bible and other, like a salt and sage or whatever they were going to use. And she thought that was really, that kind of scared her, because right away something is warning her, like, what are you getting yourself into? Yeah. So it was crazy. So
did they do like an overnight investigation, or cameras and everything, or
they pretty much, they went in the basement. They felt that there were several spirits that they could pick up. They knew there was unrest going on. They could pick up that there was, my friend was probably there, and we didn't realize that that the medium was going to go into almost a trance and have our friend speak through him. That was totally unexpected. And later on, we found out they don't let you know ahead of time, because sometimes it might not work, and didn't want to get our expectations up.
Right. So, I mean, in this show, you see him like suddenly go into a trance, so you had no idea that was going to happen. That was just out of the blue.
No, because he sat down and he gave like a long sigh, and Chris was standing near him with a recorder, and Laurie and Claire were on this sofa, and I was opposite them. And I had a picture of my friend. I wanted to show them, what he looked like. And he's in front of Mayan ruins. He was a Mayan Indian expert. But all of a sudden, he starts talking. But it was like I knew it wasn't this man who had been talking to us for a few minutes before this, that just the inflection of the voice and the way he phrased things, I go, oh my gosh, that's my friend, he just said that he was upset with himself. He was worried, and they were very kind about saying, like, what are you upset about? So they were drawing him out to find out, like, what is keeping you here? And, like the things that he was just revealing, like it just was making you where, it's almost like the sense where, is this real? Is this really happening? Right. And Chris, he stood in one spot, and we're glad that he had the recorder, because we picked up things while questions were being asked to Paul. He was picking up where there was adverse voices saying, "Don't you dare say anything." Like,
really?
Yeah, they were like agitated or threatening that that they didn't want him speaking out.
So these are EVPs he caught on the tape while this medium's in this trance.
Yes. Like this was we didn't hear it at the time, but Chris picked it up on the recorder, and so he just said that he was upset, that left us in a really bad position of the way the house was left, but there was things that he should have taken care of when before this happened to him. But they tried to explain to him how you didn't know you were going to die suddenly. So don't blame yourself, but what can you tell Anita and Chris? So he was warning us about a particular object he had brought back from his travels that was dangerous. And we're like first we're just like wanting to know what we can do to like make him move on.
Right.
But apparently there was these warnings that he knew there was other forces there that was like actually causing this negativity after Chris, of course, had been thrown down. Chris had said to me, it's not Paul. He would never do this. He said, there's something really bad here now. It's like has bad intent. It's malicious against us. And we had come across some things about the family that now I know why his brother was upset, that if we went through family things, he wasn't too keen on us finding out about it. But at the time, I didn't know. I gave him pictures and I gave him things, as I said, the people, the families from Germany. Apparently, my friend's father was. We did the research because we had to be very careful when I was putting this in the book, and names are changed, and Paul is not his real name. I have protected his friend and his family. His father apparently was a member of the Nazi SS.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes, and so we had come across, in fact, I had given the brother pictures, and one picture stood out to me, which at the time it didn't register, but then after I've done all this research, I realized it's a picture of apparently his father in a long coat with an officer's hat on, and he's standing in front of a building with several other men that are in a grayer coat. His was dark, and they were kind of laughing, but the sense when I first saw the picture was, wait a minute, this is right out of like Hogan's Heroes, or out of
But you said he was SS?
Yeah, they were SS people, like with their hats and the coats, and my friend's father, his coat was darker because he was from the Navy, and the other men were in the Army. That's why their coats were gray, these long coats. It's typically like you've seen in these war camp movies where the guy
like
has a long
U-boat, kind of like.
Well, it was like he was in the Klein's Marine, which is the Navy, but apparently he wasn't on a ship very long. He was actually slated for other work. But what I learned, there was particular groups in Nazi Germany that took people from different elements of the military for special work, like for espionage and everything. So in fact, when I handed the picture, I don't know if the brother knew that, maybe he thought I might have known something, but he piped up and said, oh yeah, my dad was part of a special group. Yeah, this is a picture of them together. And later on, I'm thinking, yeah, special group. Like I'm finding out what the special group is because he wouldn't say anything.
Oh, yeah.
But and the thing was, I handed over. Also, we found. Well, you found it, wasn't it? Or that's right, you found it under the carpet. We were cleaning out the parents' bedroom, and there was an area carpet. So Christopher was taking a piece of furniture and moving it to the center of the room, and the carpet pulled up with it, and there was this black book underneath the carpet.
Ooh.
And as soon as I pulled it out, there is a gold embossed Nazi swastika, right on the cover of it. And I didn't even know what it was, but I'm looking through it, and I see a picture of the father in a uniform, and there's like I can't speak German, but I can surmise by looking at it, you can make out like diseases. Apparently, what I found out later, it's called a Wehr pass, W-E-H-R, and these are supposed to be turned in after the war, but basically is like a passport that you're keeping on you so you can travel between the different zones and to know that you had your shots, that you're not contagious, and it also gives you permission.
It's your papers. Give me your papers.
Yeah, your papers, yeah. And because it's not very thick, it was maybe
like a passport.
Well,
right.
Yeah, maybe, and it had things stamped on it. I recognized a date that said he was married, which I know he and his wife were married before, like the full-blown war. It mentioned a son, my friend's brother, who was born 10 years before him in 1941. I guess he was born or something like that. But it was all these little things. But it was weird. I showed my dad. My dad was in World War II. He was on a B-24. And the first thing my dad said to me, I have no idea. Like, I could see that it's a military book. He goes, that SOB was SS. I go, Dad, what are you talking about? I knew this man is my friend's father. Like, what? You're shocking me over here. He goes, I'm just telling you. He said, and it's like, I show him that, like, this one thing my dad recognizes right away. And it
was like within like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah, the SOS.
Well, when I think of the SS, I think back to Indiana Jones and them going after artifacts. I wonder if your friend Paul, if there's any influence from that.
That's why you got to read a second book.
Yeah.
Because later on, now I'm one that I go, okay, my friend's in South America, in Mexico, 15 times, and his parents, and to get back, what I diverted, but this friend saying about the object, and he said, what object? He said, it's from Peru. Okay. Well, I knew they had been in Peru because I came across artifacts and actually an alpaca or a poncho from Peru that I gave to the brother because he really wanted it. It was a beautiful coat, I found in one of the wardrobes. But then the next thing he says to us, that completely deer in the headlights moment, he goes, yeah, but you have to be careful because it's not of this world. And everybody just stops.
So this is what the medium's saying as Paul in the trance, that he has an object not of this world.
Yeah, he said because
I brought this object back from Peru.
I want you to know it's not of this world. And everybody's like, well, what was that? What did you just say? And he said, well, I should have taken care of it. I used to move it around because of its power. And it's right then and there, my brain's turning to mush because it's like, I can't believe what I'm just hearing. And I even said to Lori, I go, Lori, what is going on? And then she says, quick, give me a paper and pencil. I could see this object in my mind's eye. And it's in that Portal Doom.
Right. I remember that.
And she draws this, almost looks like a figure eight. Actually, it was more like a bowling pin shape. And she said, do you know what this object? I go, I've never seen that object. All the things that were backing away, I haven't come across anything like that. And so that's the mystery is you got to take care of it. You got to put it in a lead crystal box. You got to find this. It's really dangerous. You're not supposed to have it. And it's like, oh my God.
And it changes shape is what I remember from the show.
You got to return to a place of origin.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to fly
you're going to go to Peru.
Yeah. Well, what Laurie picked up, she said after the session, we're kind of halted for a minute because it was almost too much for everybody to take in. She said apparently she was picking up from Paul because he was reluctant to say that when he was in Peru, he was looking for things to buy, and he came across this man who was a farmer, and apparently he dug this up on his property, and it came either from a tomb or what it was supposed to be a piece of something, and he thought it looked really interesting, so he bought it. The guy's thinking, oh, here's this rich gringo, let me get money for it. And he brings it back, because we found boxes that were sent from South America with labels on that, like back in the 70s when he was there, like, I don't think there was those same kind of rules. You could just buy stuff and just mail it later, and just have these things
Yeah,
delivered.
now you'd get stuck in customs.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're saying. This is a long time ago. And so that's what we're left with, like this mystery, like what in the world? But the one thing after this guy, Randy, came out of the trance, he said, I have no doubt that this could have contributed to your friend's death, that this thing is really... I go, oh, great. Like, what are we supposed to do now? Like, I don't know what this thing is. Where do I go to Peru to bring it back? I'm not supposed to have this. It's supposedly not of this world, or it's extraterrestrial or whatever. And right then, Laurie says to me, she goes, I'm going to tell you something that just scared the hell out of me. She says, I just saw a gray 3-foot-high creature just in the dining room that just walked across the room.
Like a gray alien?
Yeah, like a gray. And we have a picture of, we had caught an image, or actually a friend of ours caught an image in a bedroom, and he sent us the picture later, and I'm getting the chills while I'm saying this. It was actually almost in front of the TV of this gray-looking face, and it wasn't tall. And I then showed it to, she goes, that looks like what I saw, but this, like, gray thing.
Is that one of the pictures you sent me?
I don't know if I send you a picture of like the television where you see this thing singled out, or I'll have to send it to you, Jason. I don't know if that's one of the pictures I sent, of this gray creature face. I don't know if I sent that one to you or not.
Well, you're right up my alley when you mix aliens in with ghosts.
Yeah.
That's the whole theme of my show, is that this is all connected in some way.
Well, yeah, and this is where this is all coming, like between Nazis. I mean, this is like out of like a B movie almost. I mean, this is, we're living this where
way down the rabbit hole.
The father is, like involved in something, and then my friend and his family go to South America. I believe to this day that the father had connections down there and maybe knew maybe how to go find this thing, or just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But you're bringing this back, and you're keeping this like all secret. Like you're not really having people. Like I was one of the few people that even visited his house. His parents were very secretive. Right. In fact, a neighbor only told me later to conclude that, to make this like it was a true thing. She called me from Maryland. She was a neighbor of theirs, and it happened to be where she left a message where mail came to me. She had tried to write to my friend and didn't know he had passed away. Mail was being forwarded to me at my home address. I then read her letter, and then I wrote back to her with a copy of his obituary. I did his eulogy, a copy of the eulogy. I did at his memorial service, and then sent her and told her what happened. And then she called me to say how sorry she was to hear he had passed. And as we're talking, I said, well, I'm trying to go through things, and, my friend was very proud. And out of the blue, she says, well, he was SS, or his father was SS.
They knew.
So she said it was like an untold thing in the neighborhood that he was very mysterious, kind of like you didn't talk about it. But what was really a kicker is her mother, who was in her advanced age, and of course my friend's mother, they were about the same age bracket, and they both came from Europe. They were refugees here. Before they moved from their neighborhood, this friend and her mother were moving to Maryland because the woman had gotten a job and her mother was elderly, so she was having her mother move with her. The mother and my friend's mother met one last time, and my friend's mother broke down to this elderly mother and said, I want to apologize to you, because these friends were Jewish, and said, we knew exactly what was going on, and I want to apologize for the, because she knew she was never going to see her again. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is really happening. This is actually like some proof, but I still knew I might not, I had to get proof. And that's why my second book took me 2 years after the publishing my first book, because I did all the research and sent people down to College Park, Maryland, to go into the 70,000 archived SS documents to look up his name, and yeah, we got a hit on that. It
makes you wonder. You get into they say a lot of the Nazis fled to South America, and the Nazi gold, all that gold disappeared, and they think some of them went to South America. If his father knew anything about that or had any connections to that,
Well, it's this is all like you just don't know because now all these people are dead. But they came to this country, but they used to go back and forth a lot, and they did come by way of Luxembourg, which they didn't come from Germany, but they came from Luxembourg. Because I often wonder, how did he get through that? They didn't have maybe find out who he was.
Right.
So by leaving Germany, going to Luxembourg and living there for a few years, and coming with a Luxembourg passport, 1949, they came here with their son. And the thing is, Luxembourg, now I find out, Luxembourg is even more prevalent that carried Nazi gold to keep it than even Switzerland. That Luxembourg was the place to go to hide everything and keep your stuff there. And they were laundering money for the Nazis just as much as Switzerland was,
right.
Keeping all these things. But, this is all stuff that I've just found out through the years because I'm a history buff to begin with. That's why my friend and I, when we first met, he was an anthropologist. It was like a dream come true because I just loved hearing about his exploits being in Guatemala, studying the Mayan Indians and all this stuff. But, I knew there was always, but I always respected, like he only told me, I knew his dad was older, like more than like my dad was kind of, but I didn't realize his father was in World War II. I never asked. But, you just respect people. You're not going to go prying into their background unless they volunteer. But I knew my friend, but he had a very rough time with his father. They had a very strained relationship. He was very close to his mother. So, and I think that's part of, like my friend felt like he could never measure up to his father, but my friend was a brilliant man. I just don't understand, like now I think I do, but it was tough for him. He had a really tough time with his dad.
You have to wonder, I mean, everything you learned, if the father's ghost was still in that house and he was the one throwing things and getting negative with you guys because you're digging up his past.
Well, we then learned that was probably true because Laurie put out, she said, there's a man in a uniform here. There's a lot of hostility. And then poor Laurie, she came to our house a few months after we closed his house. And what she picked up was an affirmation of exactly what we were really afraid of that he came over with. Well, like I brought all these artifacts over to my house. And Laurie said to me, she said, it's not over, Anita. You brought all of the artifacts. I said, well, I had an empty basement, and I didn't want to put it in a storage unit.
You guys, what I thought in the video is, or when I watched the TV show, you kind of had a sneaking suspicion that this wasn't over for you after leaving the house because you have all that stuff in your house now.
Well, like I brought the stuff, and I knew there was like things happening. Like we'd come home, and there'd be like a little weird thing, like something would come out of the sink, like a top to a lid, and would. But see, that's how naive I was. I didn't really know that objects could have attachments to them. I mean, I knew I was having his objects in the basement, but I was taking care of two sick parents at the same time. Like my distraction level is like you're trying to get rid of this stuff. I'm trying to get out of this house. I'm back and forth to the hospital with my mom. My dad has Parkinson's. I'm trying to run a house. I'm running stress. Yeah, the stress is like beyond belief because, my mother had a heart attack. My dad was ill. Chris was trying to help me. It's like the summertime. It's hot. You're trying to go back and forth, clean out this place, and things are happening all the time at the house. And in my mind frame was like, it's like I just need to get these things done. And it's almost like I try to keep that on the periphery, but it wanted to be center stage. It wanted to be prevalent. And it constantly just was making itself known at the house for such a long period of time. Like, I don't think most people, unless they're living in a haunted house all the time, but to be in someone else's house for an extraordinary kind of circumstance and to have all this go on every single day, like, ghost people going to go in for 24 hours. Like, you're not getting a taste of anything. You got to be in a place for like 10 months and see how this happens.
Oh, yeah, I've always said that. A paranormal investigation team, just because you don't find anything when you go in doesn't mean there isn't anything there. It's over a period of time people experience these things. It's not. Yeah, but it sounds like it was pretty constant for you guys when you were over there.
Yeah. Well,
it was all day.
It was all until we left. It would be. I mean, it's hard to like let people know that you're just busy packing things up. Things are being thrown all the time. okay, here we go again. And then you have to go pick up the stuff. You're down in the basement. You're cleaning up the floor. Then you go down there and there's a whole bunch of stuff thrown all on the floor again. So one time I got so mad. I said, you think this is funny throwing all the stuff on the floor? Like, you're just getting so disgusted. You're tired. I said, how about you guys clean up for a change? So I went upstairs with Chris, and then we came down again, and yeah, the stuff was picked up and put on a shelf.
See, that's just clear sign something's it's an intelligent honey.
I kid you not.
It was neatly placed.
It was neatly placed, stacked on the shelf. I go, nobody would believe this. Because I would pull them out, like the time about for the garage door opener.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that was where I really almost lost it. The garage door was a double garage. One garage door was broken, and you could easily open it, so we stuck a wrench in the back of the door so you couldn't open it. You couldn't go out the side door because that was like bolted shut. So the only way to go in is one other door that you could open and close with a door opener. So, and that was full of stuff. Took us a while to clean out.
The garage was full. The attic was
full. We didn't go up the attic after that because it was full of mice up there. We didn't want to go up there. But the garage. So we used the garage door opener to get in because we would open up the other door if we needed to, but then we had to lock it at night with just put the wrench in and bolt it shut. So one day he had his two friends over. We had done some cleaning in the garage. We had been in the house. We were trying to just get things done. And one of the fellows had to go back. He was a cook. So we had to do a 5 o'clock at the restaurant. So I said, let's get this guy home. So it was around 3:30, and I closed the garage door opener. I'm in the kitchen of the house. The guys are waiting for me outside to drive them home, and I closed the door with the garage door open. I'm grabbing my purse, and my son yells out to me, he said, did you forget something? I said, no, what? He said, the garage door just went open. No. So I didn't open it. No, I didn't open it. I didn't forget anything in there. I said, maybe I didn't close it. So I closed it again. I said, maybe I didn't press hard enough. Went down. So then I go in the other room. I'm grabbing my bags, and I'm coming out, and the guys are hysterically laughing. The door is up again. I go, what is going on? So I said to Chris, look, I'm going to go guide the door down. You go press the door opener in the kitchen. So he does. And I guide it down and make sure it's down to the ground. I turn around, and the door goes back up again. And by this time, the guys are like, such a hysterics. They're laughing. I go, guys, this isn't funny. So if we can't get this door down, we can't leave. I said, I can't leave this place. So then I said, Chris, go get the door opener. I go, somebody's fooling around. So because he came out, he was laughing. He goes in and he yells. He goes, the door opener, it's gone. I left it on the table. It's missing. So now I'm really freaking out. I go, guys, please. I go, look around, just see. But I knew if they took it, because we would have stuff disappear on us a lot. I said, I don't know what to do. So Chris said, it's gone. I said, you know what? I have had it. So I was so mad. Oh, you get an Italian woman mad. He's lucky. I have a wooden spoon in my hand or something. So I just marched in the house, went down the basement. It was even dark. I didn't even put the light on. I just marched right down there. I said, all right, you whoever listens, you better listen up. If you don't give me that door opener, I said a lot worse language. You don't give me that door opener right now, I will bulldoze this effing house down, so help me God.
Oh, my God.
I have had it.
She went off for 10 minutes with a lot of choice words.
And then Chris yells at me, the door opener's back. It's on the table again.
Just right where you looked. It wasn't there, and then you come back, and it's there.
So I said, give me that door thing.
Classic
Put it in my bag. I said, I am keeping this with me. I said, thanks a lot. That's more like it.
And then she put the door down and finally stayed down.
And it stayed down, and I took it with me. I go, you're not getting this now. I'm going to keep it in my handbag. But it's like you had to be there. It's like nobody would, just like I kept doing this. It's like you're just playing with me. I'm ready to, call it quits. I can't do this anymore. Like, just leave me alone. And yeah, so that's my rant.
Yeah, that was one of her more poignant rants.
Oh my God!
Don't make an Italian woman mad, right?
No, don't get me mad.
Now, because the time goes by so fast. We got about an hour left of the show, but I want to make sure we get into. So, I mean, everything kind of got wrapped up at the house, and you guys got everything to your house.
Right.
One question I've always had is like, what happened with the people who moved in after? You know, when you sold the house, did you ever find out? You know, if they experienced anything?
No, because they moved out after 2 years, and then 2 other people rented them.
So there's a chance that some people are experiencing some things because they're in and out, right?
Within the last
the last
5 years.
Well, let's see. They sold it in 2010. They really did a beautiful job. They really gutted the place, and people bought it pretty quickly. They lasted 2 years. I don't know if it got transferred, but then somebody else rented it. They only lasted a year, and then so this is like the 3rd or 4th owners. But I think
I wonder why.
I think these people were
right.
there.
So I was always curious when I mean, like I said, when Bill Bean said, "Hey, would you like to have Anita and Chris on the show?" You know, and he told me what from, and you know, where you're from, and what your story was. I'm like, oh my god, that's like one of my favorite episodes. One of the things I always wondered is what happened with that house. Like, you know, did the people just stay, or was there people leaving and going because it's haunted?
Well, what the worst thing is, I mean, the place was beautiful. We didn't recognize the basement. The basement was made into a media room, but they cordoned off an area made into like a workroom. They left the father's workbench in there, this huge workbench. Maybe it was too heavy. And I go, Chris looked at it and goes, good luck, people. The father's workbench.
I think I made the sign of the cross, and I walked upstairs and said, have a good night. You know?
So there was one thing left there, but to get to we closed on the house finally, sold the house.
We wanted to get out of there before Halloween.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was good.
We weren't staying there
and we figured, okay, you know, we've closed. Let's just try to get back to a little normal life because we were there so much during the week, and then things were pretty quiet. Well, we had our family said in around Thanksgiving when I would tell them some stories, they said, "Oh, you should write a book." I go, "Well, maybe I will." I said. But, you know, like you guys kind of said in passing. Well, then Christmas Eve 2009 at my house.
Only 2 months after we closed
2 months,
down.
yeah, we started getting paranormal activity. Just came out of nowhere.
What was the first thing that like happened that you're like, uh-oh?
Well, it was we're having breakfast and we heard something hit the front door. Remember?
Well, yeah,
it was the mat cutter from the kitchen. We have a little mat cutter that's on top of the microwave, and we heard something hit the front door. Chris looked at me and goes, I hope that's not what I think it is.
Oh, yeah, that's what I might like. Anything weird, probably both you guys, I could see the looks on your faces probably. You're like, oh, God.
And it was our little mat cutter, which came from the kitchen. So we picked it up. I go, okay, just put it away. And about maybe 10 minutes later, something else hits the front door. And it's a woman's like tortoiseshell comb or something. It's like it's nothing that I owned.
Oh, so it's like something you don't even recognize.
No, I didn't even.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a woman's like tortoiseshell clip or something, and I go, I have no idea what this is. So
that was followed by about 10 more things at the front door.
Well, we had
all the different change.
It's inside the house. When you say the front door, it's hitting the inside of the front door.
Well, actually, I was up.
Well, that was after we went upstairs. It stopped for a while.
It went upstairs. That's right. We heard a big bang because we were trying to get ready to go to my parents for Christmas Eve because we're having an Italian Christmas Eve dinner, with the 7 fishes kind of thing, and we were trying to get ready, but like these things were keeping us occupied. Like what's like making noises? So something hit the I said, what's this junk that they're throwing around or something? And I said, yeah, if you want to throw some junk, like why don't you throw like gold or the blooms or whatever? Well, we hear this big smack against the tile wall in the upstairs bathroom. And we go up there to investigate, and I see this gold coin on the floor.
I was like, wow.
That's what I asked for.
I've heard of this on investigations, people saying, like, coins show up and stuff. Like, hey, ghosts, come on. If you want to drop money, I'm all in for the haunting.
The gold coin. And she picks it up, and it's a car wash token from Yaden. Yeah. And she turns over and says, no cash value.
So that was pretty, that was a disappointment.
Well, it's so old it doesn't even have a zip code. Like
wow.
I mean, with an area code number.
Yeah, that didn't have an area code on the telephone.
So you knew this. I mean, it looked like when you picked it up, you saw it was like tarnished. It was like just a gold coating. But I thought, oh, big deal, you cheapos.
It's the best they could do on short notice, Anita.
The Morgan.
Yeah, but then they hit the wall again with a Morgan silver dollar, so that wasn't too bad. At least they hit that then.
What this makes me think of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Skull Project, where they had mediums that met on a regular basis and tried to contact the other side, and besides light phenomenon and other crazy things, they would just drop things out of nowhere, or even a newspaper from that was like looked at and shown that it was like, not aged at all, but the ink and everything it had been from that time period. I mean, it's crazy, these experiences people have, that these things, these objects, there's no way you had that token, or that you just show up like that. I mean, it's not something that was even in your house.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, what was strange is the Morgan silver dollar. I looked at the date, and it's the date of his father's birth. His father's born this 1914 Morgan silver dollar. So it's like scary. But then I had a client visiting me in my art studio, and she has since passed away. She was a really fantastic person, but she was picking up some photographic pictures I had done for her, and we heard coins hit against the wall from the living room into the hallway against the hall wall, which is then my studio. She just looked at me. She goes, "Anita, what was that?" I go, "Oh, wait a minute, man, Anne Marie, let me see." And I go in, and there's Deutschmarks. There's 3 Deutschmarks.
Whoa.
Which, now it's all euros, but these were Deutschmarks from like I think it was 1949. And that's when his parents came to this country. And then one was like, I think 53. But it's like, she just looked at it. She went home to her husband, and she said, you won't believe, like she never came back. But like, I was losing business because, I mean, I had another lady came to pick up an antique doll, and Chris happened to be home, and we had a penny drop from the ceiling and hit the TV, the bottom of the TV, and he didn't know that happened. She's like, this 80-year-old woman is like fascinated, and we're like looking around, and then we're getting things hit against the door frames, and they turn out to be Chris's models, these miniature model repaints. They were from downstairs. He said, these models are not up here. They were from downstairs, they're packed away. So they're taking stuff from the basement.
That's in a box, so they have to like physically get it out of the box, get it upstairs, and throw it at you.
Yeah, I mean, and this poor woman was like so startled. She goes, "Oh my God, how do you live here?" And then and then there was where you walked in the room and you called me in, and there was like a line of lace bows and trim. And my friend's mother made dresses and had a lot of trim, and he knew I sewed doll clothes. So he gave me like all this trim and stuff. This stuff wasn't coming out of the drawer. There's all these bows and stuff lined up on the living room floor. There's like 9 of them. And the woman looked, she goes, "That wasn't there a minute ago." I go, "I know it wasn't. Do you see this?" And so she left. She never came back either. So but the thing that happened like from Christmas Eve, we had that happening. And then Chris was he said, "Look, we have to get ready. We can't be looking for coins anymore. Like we have to just try to
live in our home."
Chris goes he's going to use the bathroom to shave, and I'm in my bedroom, and I can see the hall. I see a black shadow from the ceiling follow him in the bathroom and throws his shaver against the wall in the hallway.
Did this thing kind of like slither?
It was like a jerky motion. No, it didn't slither. It was like just like whoop, like it just went after him.
But it was like on the ceiling?
Yeah. I could see it from because I'm like looking. He's just going into the bathroom, and I see this black thing follow him in the bathroom. And the next thing you know, this thing comes flying out the door.
My shaver was smashed my shaver to pieces.
And I'm there trying to pick up the pieces, and I'm saying, "You son of a guns!" And I see the black shadow go, "Woo!" It's going down the steps, down to the bottom.
I got like goosebumps because I had my shadow person experience, and
like a black slinky going down the stairs.
It's just like down there. I go, and so I called out to my friend. I go, "Could you please tell them not to do anything?" I said, "Because it's Christmas Eve. Can we just like have peace and quiet?" And everything just stopped. Like it's like I just asked for it to stop. And then we told my parents that night. Of course, they're like they're afraid. They were afraid when we were at my friend's house because they believed us. Like that tends to be a person like a little skeptical, but he said, you don't make up this kind of stuff. He said,
he knows his kid,
Like, how do you make up this stuff? I go, Dad, I'd have to have the most fantastic imagination in the world to come up with all this stuff constantly, all these new and weird things. I mean, you go in a room and it looks like pickup sticks. They took plastic straws out of the drawer and they're all like thrown like pickup sticks all like in a trail into the living room.
What?
It's like, yeah, it's like kid stuff, like it's like it's just like so many things.
But it got negative when it started to scratch you. How long into were you getting the scratches at your home?
Well, I mean, I continue. Like the most recent one was the one I think from when Bill came a couple years ago.
Right.
But but like we've had things broken, like things that mean something to you too. But Bill came. Like we didn't know anything about Bill until around. I guess I was writing my first book. And I had an agent who worked with me. She was really into the story. I've known her since 2011. I was then getting fingerprints. We started getting fingerprints on our mirror.
I got a picture up here. It says ghost in handprint on glass table, 2013.
Yes, and that's what brought Bill Bean to us because I posted that on the internet, on the Facebook, to people that already were fans of my book, because I published that book in, I guess that was 2000, that was getting ready to be published, so people already saw the trailer, they knew it was coming out, was pre-ordered. So I said to anybody if I've ever seen anything like that, because that was something new that was happening on our mirror in our bathroom, and that was on our coffee table. And this woman got in touch with me. She said, I know of a person who doesn't live far from you on the East Coast, and she said it was Bill Bean. She says, I'm going to...
Oh, I just lost him. Let me call him back. See, Bill Bean's name comes up, and we lose signal. Because remember, we got interrupted last time we had Bill Bean on, and half the show got cut off. So hopefully get him back. Huh. You guys there? Oh, no, it's calling him. That was so weird.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Probably because you mentioned Bill Bean.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Because remember what?
Back.
Yeah, but you remember last time we got cut off halfway through the show when I had Bill Bean on.
Yeah.
That's what the exact thing that came to my mind when I lost you. Right as we were talking about Bill Bean coming into this situation, we get cut off.
Yeah, and it's been. You even have like voices and things sometimes get captured on there, which is kind of like threatening, or they just don't want us to talk about it. But Bill then got in touch with me, called me. I told him my situation. He was very, very concerned, and so he made arrangements, and he came up within a few weeks. He changed his scheduling around, and we never met him. But you just by talking to him,
Anita, really quick. Sorry, you're kind of muffled. Maybe try talking a little bit more into the phone. You seem a little more muffled than you were before we got cut off.
Okay, let me see. Chris, can you fix it?
I did. You might have where we got, stuff might be happening. So let me see that. There's nothing that we did anything different with the phone.
Okay, you sound a little better. I hear, and Chris does. So just try to talk directly in the phone. Sorry to interrupt you, but it was a little muffled.
No, that's fine. No. Bill, he showed up, and he said when he pulled up that he just can feel something outside of the house. And so when we met him, it was like, geez, he just was just the most warm person, very conciliatory, like wanted to know our story. And we sat around table, would tell him what was going on. And he just said, he says, I believe you guys 100%. He says, my feeling, what I'm getting is it's genuine. I can feel things here, and I'm going to see what I can help you. And so that's our first time that we met Bill, and we've now, since 2013, Bill's been part of our lives, and he's been at our house, I guess, about 6 times, I think, to left the house. He had never been at Paul's house because that was already sold in 2010, but he's, been here. He's felt the different, energies and the strange stuff. He, and he's warned us about things. He did a property type of evaluation. We're on a property that dates it goes back to the 1700s.
Right.
There's been occupation on this property, but our house is built into the foundation of an 1800s farmhouse. This was built in 1947 at the Cape Cod, but the basement has a fireplace that has bricks and structure that's of the old fireplace from the 1800s. So the foundation wasn't really changed. They just built the Cape Cod over top of it. So Bill said that's really very, very strong there, that he gets, the portal. Like, there was a portal at my friend's house. I mean, we just have to go back to that, where when Laurie Hall was there, she felt there was a portal there that was letting other things in.
Right.
And it coincides with what Bill, we didn't tell him where we were having the activity. We let him tell us, and he pointed out areas that my son Chris had felt that there was things in his bedroom. Bill pointed out a portal area, which made sense to us. He pointed out an area of portal in the basement, which I might have sent you the picture where that was taken by Laurie Hull's team in 2010, that I'm in the basement and there's this big white area right in the corner, and that's where Bill said 3 years later that's a portal that he picked up, and he didn't know about that picture that Laurie Hull's group took. So, but he came and he did the blessing. He was here about 4 hours, and we could feel peace after he left. We could feel, calmness. And what he said to us, he said, I'm hoping this is going to be it, but he wasn't sure if, because of so much living and dying on the property, that he could feel it, that he said, sometimes it takes maybe a couple of times to come back,
right.
If things rev up. And that actually has come to be true, because even Laurie told you, she said, she said, it's the object you have in your house, but she said, it's also, there's something been here before. There was something here before I even came here, and even before you brought these artifacts into the house. She said, your house already had a kind of a spiritual grounding, or something was here already. And then it made sense to us that we were getting benevolent kind of signs here, plus we got the nasty stuff that goes on. And there's like a battle that goes on between...
One picture I found from 2010 is the shadow figure in Chris's room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's creepy looking. It's like this.
Yeah, that was just one of our common occurrences, pretty much, of different things, and waking up during the middle of the night and seeing this thing kind of swaying back and forth at the foot of your bed. And my first, feeling was to grab my phone and see if I could get a picture of it, and I didn't even remember if I had even gotten a picture of it in the morning, because I'd fallen back to sleep pretty quickly. I just had grabbed my phone and hoped that I had gotten a picture, and then just kind of, I didn't even know if I was dreaming or if I was awake at that point. And then when I woke up in the morning and, opened my phone up, and I saw that I had captured that picture that you guys had.
It's like pure blackness, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's solid black. Mm-hmm. And that's in a dark room. This is like at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
During I don't even know what time of the year it was, but it would be dark.
It was in the summer.
It wouldn't be light yet if it was winter or summer. So it was a dark room where you have no lights on, and you have where that thing is blacker than the black room. So because I didn't have any flash on with my my camera phone.
Mm-hmm.
So after Bill blessed it, though, you guys definitely noticed the activity decreased.
Oh yeah, because it had been pretty strong in 2010. Up when I was writing my book and then getting that situated, and then things were happening while I was writing the book. So I started documenting that stuff. I have to keep another journal, because this stuff that's coming about is even into another kind of trail, because now it's at my house, where when you're at my friend's house, you can maybe close the door there and leave that behind and come home and feel like you're safe. But then when it comes into your house, then you're feeling really like you're protected. This is your sanctuary, and now it's being invaded, and it's not stopping. And the things that we were getting between the cloak figure, I had the shadow man in my hallway that I was watching TV one night. Chris was out, and I see a 6-foot tall man with a hat on. And that's the picture I have on my second book. It was captured on film when we were doing my book trailer for the first book, and we captured this figure.
I got one. I have one up from 2012. Shadow Man captured at our front door.
Yeah, that's it.
And I see the hat. I see the hat. I totally do.
Yeah, and that was actually captured when we did the video for the Estate of Horror book trailer. And then when I was on a show a little while after that, one of the producers or people were able to single frame that for us because they did see the trailer and they were able to capture, like, we have 4 frames of it forming, and then you could actually see, with this hat. And when we had the production crew here, these are young filmmakers, good friends of friends that were all involved in entertainment and multimedia. In fact, Chris's ex-boss is still a good friend of ours, and he actually was at our friend's house in 2009. But he set up equipment, and when they were doing the editing, the fella, Jack and Bill, who were doing the cinematography and being the director, he said to me, nobody was wearing a hat in here. We captured something at the front door. And then when I looked at the trailer, I go, oh, my God, they captured the Shadow Man right at the front door. And right before that, there's a bark. You could hear just a bark of a dog for like 1 second. And the thing is, that coincides with the Shadow Man and his dog in the Portal of Doom.
Right. I remember the dream you had, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, we heard that on the tape after they didn't get that because there's no dog at 1:30 in the morning outside on our, in the neighborhood that they're doing the book trailer. So I mean, but you hear right before they capture the Shadow Man on the door, you hear a quick 2-second a dog bark.
Dog bark, yeah, and that was just so strange.
What I find interesting is you got the picture from 2012, and now I got up a picture from 2018 at these steps of a shadow person, and you can see the hat. You can see the same hat.
Yeah,
it's like the same guy.
Yeah, he's. I think he's been demoted into the basement more because we haven't seen him up here for quite a while. But when one night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, Chris, he woke me up and he said he heard a loud bang and from the basement. The basement door got banged. So he grabbed a baseball bat. I don't know what that's.
What's that going to do, Chris?
I don't know, but I mean, if someone's downstairs, he's going to get a rude awakening.
So we went down and we went to the basement door, and as soon as we opened and put the light on, we saw Shadow Guy go to the bottom of the steps. Like, did you just see that? And like his reflection, you could see because the light went on, and you could just see them go. So I thought, oh, he's down there. There's something down there. Well, we've had little ghost children come to Christopher in his sleep, because Chris is quite a medium now, that when he's sleeping, he gets weird, strange people coming to him that have just died and telling him all kinds of stuff. But that was the bad man in the basement, the little ghost children that come through his house, who have probably died on the property.
The bad man in the basement is the big evil. The Shadow Man sits around. He's just one of our resident ghosts. The Shadow Man with the dog, with the wolf dog, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, we got
we got to go to commercial. We got to go to our last commercial break.
Okay.
But I want to get into that too, because Chris, one of the theories I've always had is about some people that discover their medium or have these abilities later in life. I think it's because they get exposed to certain locations that awaken something in them. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have been what happened to you, because you didn't have any of these experiences before that house, right? Not like this.
No, not any prevalent like now. But we did find some other things when I was a kid that I wrote about, in a journal. So we'll get to that after commercial break. We'll get all dive and all that. But there wasn't much.
All right, Chris. Yeah, let's hold on to that. We'll come to that when we get back from the commercial break. And guys, if you want to call in, you got any questions, I know you're entranced with the story because there's a lot going on here. But call in 219-230-4444, Skype ID OOJBland00 after this commercial break. We'll be right back.
Don't be alarmed. It's only a laser sword fight. Don't be scared. It's only the Death Star destroying another world. Relax. It's only a movie, and it's all for fun. Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
At Lombank, we're with you every step of the way.
We sell your dreams.
We're not a soulless, monolithic institution.
We are, but we use nostalgic imagery.
It's walking into your dream home.
You can't really afford it. We'll lend you the money anyway.
It's kids graduating from college.
With pointless degrees riddled with debt.
It's happy picnics on the beach.
There's sewage in the water.
Family portraits with everyone dressed the same.
You look like twats.
Canoeing in the lake.
By the power station.
Catching fireflies in a jar.
And watching them die.
Cheering at high school football games.
The kids are giving each other brain damage.
These are the things our lives are made of.
Interest rates only 33.4%.
Lombank. We're the American bank that truly, more or less, cares.
About profits.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The Science of Crime is back for another season.
The cigarette was hotboxed. He was nervous about something. His orthopedic surgeon records indicate
that he was a deaf woman who plays guitar. Mermaids, multiple wives, threesomes. This is serious.
They're not detectives or scientists, but they act like they are. They're crime scene cops that take matters into their own hands. These guys are so smart, they never have to look anything up.
He was neurotic, with a love of puppies and experimental cooking.
I knew it. It's a partial lesion caused by light to medium tearing of the thoraxal cortex. Obviously, you can tell at a glance by the fingerprint on the mustard bottle. Andrews, my acting sucks ass.
The Science of Crime. It's forensically boring.
From deep space, the seed is planted. Terror grows.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Certificate X. Now showing London Pavilion, Classic Oxford Street.
Left on the house at 8%. So they're okay. So, does anybody want to play Parcheesi? Okay, who brought the dog?
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, I've been talking to Anita Jo Intenzo and her son Chris Levis, who lived in a house that they brought a bunch of artifacts from another haunted house. And lo and behold, they start having activity in their own home. Scratches, A-ports, items thrown at their front door, shadow hatmen, and ghost dogs, as scary as it is. One of the things I remember from watching Portal of Doom on A Haunting was Chris having this dream of a man and his vicious red-eyed dog. That would be scary. I've had some dreams like that. That would be very scary, especially knowing that this is probably a real ghost in your home that he's experiencing. So I want to get into that tonight. And if you have any questions for our guests, if you're a fan of that episode like I am, call in 219-230-4444 or Skype ID OOJBland00. Just call in and just wait till we call on you. We still got a half an hour left, so please call in. Join the conversation. But let's go ahead and get back to our guests. You still there with us, guys, or hopefully no demons took you away?
No,
not yet.
But yeah, one of the things I remember from that episode is, Chris, is you had that dream. They show where this guy, you were talking to a spirit of a man who said he used to live there, and he had this vicious dog.
Yeah, big black dog with the red eyes, and then having where we got the fur out of the dream too. We kept that in a Ziploc bag.
You had fur?
Yeah, we woke up with this. In the dream, talking to the man that he was saying about the two pipsqueaks next door about barking at his beauty. The next door neighbors had these two small dogs that would constantly bark and bark and bark. And we in the backyard, and we never knew why. It was like, could you take those dogs in? And then they would take them in, and they were still barking. They bring them out. Then we realized they were barking at those ghost dogs. So I guess dogs have that sixth sense. They can see things that aren't there. So we figured we found that out. But having in a dream where I was talking to him, and then like the dog, coming up and kind of like getting in my face with its hot breath and the red eyes of the whole thing, getting in my face. And like, of course, you're going to go grab onto the dog's face because it's like, get out of my face, with this hot breath. And I guess I must have grabbed onto a patch of, the hair of the dog in the drink. I think this is big little dog thing. But then waking up in the morning and having a patch of hair in your hand.
Was it like black hair?
It was literally just a clump of black hair.
Wow.
That was in my palm. And then we have that saved, wherever we have that saved.
A Ziploc bag.
Yeah, put that in a Ziploc bag.
Well, some of it I thought was something was on the carpet, and he said that had to be from my hand, and I didn't even know what he had. But this man had been infiltrating, like, his dream. I think once or twice he came to you, but we didn't know who he was. And I said to Chris, it could be the man that I saw with the hat in the hallway. And he then he said to Chris who he was, that he said, I used to live here. What else did he say? He said, because I went to jail for murder.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's all in the Portal of Doom episode that he went to jail for murdering his wife.
Yeah, and the thing is,
burning her clothes in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was, I was looking up records in our historical society about this property, and was in the orphan court records because I wanted to find out about these children that more than one psychic. We happened to have another friend who was visiting the area, and he stopped in on recommendation from my agent, and he picked up the children that didn't know that they had died because they were young, and we have since been told or had some investigation that we could possibly have graves of two children in the backyard. And
oh my God.
Several hundred years ago, our property was a big farm at one time, and we're still zone country by a certain property line that we live outside of Philadelphia. But we actually have neighbors who have kept ponies and chickens and potbelly pigs in their backyard, and you still can do that, but you need a special kind of permit. But the thing is, that all went on in this area, and that we do have a depression back in our property. We have about 300-foot back property, which is what's all that's left of the farm, and we had people come with grave dowsing, the rods, and they didn't tell each other. They each went out separately, and they all, when they compared notes, all went to the same place. And Chris actually pointed it out to me before they even came. He said, I wonder if they'll know if that's the spot.
Was it dowsing rods they were using?
Yeah, they had all the equipment. They said they believed there was maybe more than one child buried back there, and that was apparently a little maybe ghost spirit that Christopher had even seen. But the man, his name came up when I was looking through records that there were several children that lived on this property, and he did go to jail for murdering his wife in early 1900s. So there's a record of not only the living and dying, but then of evil acts probably being committed that you're not really sure of when you're buying a house, from so many years ago that the property is inhabited. But from what I've known from talking to one of our neighbors, this property up until 1922, with the Depression, like the old farmhouse had been torn down and was just in ruins. And it was pretty much left fallow and just trees. And people just didn't seem to want to actually come on this property that much. Like they sort of bypassed it. And then it was a lot to be sold in 1947 when the gentleman who we bought the house from, he built the house on the property. So, there has been maybe one or two several buildings before this, but when we dig up for doing yard work or planting bulbs or whatever, we do find a lot of pottery, and I have jars of like little artifacts, a spoon. Chris found part of an old clay pipe that dates from the late 1800s, and pieces of pottery that are the flow blue from that I've been researching on this, and I know it's really old stuff, but you just don't even know that you're going to be uncovering it when you just happen to dig up the property.
How long were you in your house before this whole thing happened with your friend Paul? How long were you in your house before all this?
We've been here since 86, so that was 2009. So
my question, but biggest, what I find fascinating about this is that before Paul's house, before any of that, you guys didn't have anything going on.
Not that I could feel that. I never thought anything like that. That with the house, it was always homey. Chris, when he was little, had an imaginary friend when we moved here, but it was, he named it after one of his stuffed
Right,
animals.
that's normal kids, That's what I find interesting, though, is that you guys get exposed to something truly out of this world paranormal, and then you take it with you, and it opens up things that historical things in your own home. Like it's like it opens you guys up to something. But we'll get into more to that. We do have somebody waiting on the phone line, so I want to get to before we run out of time. We got Zach on the phone line. Thanks for calling in, Zach.
Hey, Jason, doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing good.
Anita, Chris, I love hearing your story. I just have one question, and I'm actually going to go ahead and I'll briefly share just some recent experiences that have actually been going on over in my shop.
Oh, still more stuff?
Still more stuff. Anyway, Anita, Chris, the one part of your story that really intrigued me was when you said that there was an incident in your home where you found it was a gold was it a trinket? Was it? I think you said it was, and then I think I heard about maybe a newspaper and a Morgan dollar.
The newspaper was
that
me.
Matched from. Oh, the newspaper's you. Okay.
Yeah. I was mentioning another case.
Oh, okay. Have you found any explanation as to how something from a certain time period could be generated by spirit to show up when really there wasn't anything in the house that matched it? Like say for example, if there was say for example, if a gold dollar, if no one's a coin collector, but this coin just happened to show up, have you found any explanation how a spirit could generate the energy to place it there?
That's $1 million question, my friend.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Zach. Thanks for your question. Well, what we had, that gold thing was a car wash token. As I said, it was it was really old, because they didn't have the area code in it, and we didn't know where that had come from, but we knew it had to be connected to my friend's family, because they had lived it said, was it Yaden? It said that was part of a township that our friends had lived in before they moved to this other area where we were working at his house. But it's actually, there's a term for it. It's called a port, A-P-O-R-T.
Right.
I never heard of that actual definition, but it means of something from nothing. That something is either being moved and something coming from being generated from a nothingness or being created, and then it forms into, it's like an interdimensional thing. And I know I'm not a scientist, but I have had some people say through quantum physics or some type of interdimensional thing that this can generate, this comes out from one, either it got moved from, as I say, from one area to the other, but we had never seen that car wash token before. So either maybe it was in one of the boxes we had, we didn't even know it was in there, and then it just came out of that box and then materialized upstairs. But the Morgan silver dollar, we had never come across either. That seemed to come out of nowhere. So it reminds me of that scene in Poltergeist movie where stuff comes from the ceiling and it was like watches and coins.
Exactly what I was thinking, Anita.
Yeah, I mean, we actually, that's the thing that we've always talked about, because we've had, I even had a crystal pendant drop from the ceiling at my friend's house when I was sitting in the living room going through some books and things, and something just dropped down on my lap, and I still have it. It's a little crystal pendant, and, you know, it's like it come out of nowhere. And I also have we have a Victorian woman ghost that we think was one of the residents here. She leaves me, there's knitted pieces of textile that look crocheted, and she leaves these, I have like over a dozen pieces I've collected. I find them on my steps, on my floor, on top of my bed. Even one of the announcers, interviewers in California, who was interviewing me on the show, before she interviewed me, she found one of these apports exactly like I was finding, and she said, Anita, she showed me the picture. I said, Noreen, that's exactly.
Oh, I know Noreen.
Yeah, Noreen Valvich. Yes, yeah. I've been on her show quite a few times.
Great lady.
But these things are, the way they're crocheted, it's like, someone said it looks like morning jewelry, the way morning jewelry used to be made out of human hair, that it's got that old crochet technique.
Oh, wow.
And this woman, they just started being left to me for me to find them. In fact, I just found one this morning on my, like we talk about coins. 2 coins appeared on my upstairs bathroom. Right when I was coming out of the bathroom the other night, there was just 2 coins next to each other. And I've had 2 weird things happen. Well, 2 unexpected things. I just had an operation on my hand on Thursday, which had been scheduled anyway, but I was in a car accident last Saturday, and my car's in the shop being fixed. I'm okay. The person hit me is okay, but like I was feeling really kind of vulnerable, and so I have 2 coins that show up in my upstairs, just 2 pennies, and then I find one of these little knitted pieces today on the bathroom rug downstairs. So it's like...
So she has multiple
jars. I have 4 jars of coins that I've collected from finding coins outside my car. Things I find they're not all over the house.
You know what it reminds me of those? My wife, I leave change everywhere. My wife's like, if you ever die and come back as a ghost, I'm going to know it's you because you're going to leave change everywhere. Zach, we run out of time here. Is your story kind of quick?
Yeah. But thanks for your question, Zach.
Yeah, I'll keep
It's just, there is a term for it, and it is apparently something that's happened to a lot of people in the paranormal community.
Oh, an A-port, yeah. Zach, so what do you got on really quickly going on now at the shop?
All right, really quick. So 2 weeks ago, I take a look over inside our walk-in humidor, and I notice one of the boxes in the corner, the lid starts moving by itself, and it's shaking. And I'm like, well, this is really weird. And none of the other boxes, because there's about 5 other boxes on that same row, they're not moving at all. And I check the fan that's in there that blows all the moisture into the humidor from the humidifier. It's not even facing where this box is at. So I wonder, why does this box keep shaking? And then eventually it stops. I go back in a little later to check on the box. I put my hand inside the box, and I realize, oh, the box is empty. So I'm like, is something trying to tell me that I need to restock on this, or what?
Gotta help her.
But was like, okay, well, we'll put in an order for it then. And then the second incident actually happened earlier this week. So I'm out in the retail area of the shop in the front. I'm sitting over at one of the tables there. I'm looking down over at my phone, smoking a cigar, and I hear a loud boom. And I look over, and the trash can lid flies open by itself, and one of the corners of the lid breaks off from the trash can.
Oh my God!
And I went to my business partner and I told him this. They says, well, that trash can, we've had it for 12 years. We've been looking about replacing it. So I'm like, okay, well, now we have a reason to replace it.
Well, thank you, Zach, for calling in and sharing the story and having such a great question.
Hey, brother, thank you for allowing me to call in. Anita, Chris, thank you so much for answering my question.
Oh, you're welcome, Zach. Good luck to you.
Yeah, keep us updated. Talk to you later, bud.
Talk to you later, brother. Bye-bye.
You know, this is the thing, you know, I think about these things. My wife had this experience too once. You know, she had her aunt die, and she still has it. This crystal showed up hanging. It was hanging from their kitchen window. Nobody knows where it came from, but it was like during, I think, the wake, and she'd have to tell the story. But my wife still holds on to it, and I've always wondered, it's like, how do these things just come, you know, out of nowhere? You know, like the scene in Poltergeist, and I pointed out the Skull Project, you know, that they had these airports appear. It's like you wonder if it's things that they pull out of their own their lives, their past, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just every time I receive one of these or find a coin, like I just say thank you. You know, somebody is either, I feel that it's a connection from the other side, or someone. It means everything's going to be okay. I mean, I've even had a white feather one time. I was going into the bathroom one morning, and I felt like pressure on my left arm, and there was a white feather stuck to the top of my arm. And I just looked at it, and and I always realized, you know, like feathers are really special. And well, a couple days later, I came down with the shingles, but I always look back that feather was like almost warning me or saying everything's going to be okay, but you're going to be through some maybe hard stuff, but you're going to be okay. And the case of the shingles could have been a lot worse, but you know, I mean, I had to go through it, but it was not as bad as some people's cases were. But I had that white feather in a little container because, like, that was just so strange. You know, just all of a sudden just appears on my arm, sticks on my arm. So, I mean, I guess we're magnets of some type.
Going back to Zach's question about the cigars and humidor and everything, we have a resident. I don't even know if you want to, what you might call him, but I refer to him as the snake guy. I don't know if Zach has any kind of either like a frog, amphibian, reptilian stuff in his shop, or any kind of snake stuff, because sometimes with tobacco you have like maybe Aztec, or there's like different types of things you can get, humidor stuff or signs, or, you know, the wooden Indian tobacco, stuff like that. But we had, when I used to live at the old house, when I had moved out of my over here, but now I'm back at my mom's house. When I was living on my own, I had a cigar room, and that's what I'm writing about in the third book, to where the place where I was at was very, very haunted as well. I think it may have followed me over there, but I had a cigar room, and one night when I went upstairs to go grab a couple cigars out of the room, there's this hooded figure sitting in my rolling chair at my desk. And I don't know if he was smoking a cigar or a cigarette or whatever, but he was smoking something, because it was, you know, smoke was coming from his face. So, but he had the face of like a reptilian being or something of that nature, and was sitting there smoking a cigar. And I just kind of stopped in my tracks. I was like, "Oh, you're new. Like who are you? like what is this going on?" So, but it was weird because I was coming up the stairs and I was smelling tobacco, and I was like, you know, just kind of, you know, you'd pass it off. It's like, obviously there's cigars up there, you would probably smell tobacco from time to time, but it was very clean, very, you know, it wasn't like anything to where cigars were all over the place. Everything had its spot, and it was never smelled of like a humidor or tobacco or anything. It was very, you know, kept very well. But when I walked up, I smelled like somebody had just lit a cigar. So, and then seeing that thing, and he frequented that room, wasn't in any other room in the house except that room that I think he was tied to the tobacco in that room. Yeah. And, I basically said to him, I was like, well, have a cigar for me, my man. I hope you enjoy what I got in there. I got a lot of good sticks put away. So I hope you found something you enjoyed tonight. And I kind of just, went in there, grabbed what I had to grab, and just was like, have a good night, and went downstairs. And I went downstairs, went outside on the porch and lit up a really nice cigar for the night. I'm just sitting there going, did I just see what the hell I thought I saw? And then my buddy, who also smoked cigars, came over about a week later, and he asked me, he's like, hey, did you get anything new or whatever? I said, yeah. I said, there's that small little humidor. It's on that stool next to right when you go in the door, it's right next to the wall on that little stand. If you want to grab a couple out of there for us, because I was like, I don't feel like, well, I just came from upstairs. I don't feel like, going back upstairs. So he goes upstairs, grabs the cigars, comes back down. He looks like he turned 10 shades of green. And then is, mixed with his face being completely white, no expression. And he's like, I know you mentioned that this is like a haunted house, or you guys have seen stuff. But why is there like a Sith Lord, like crocodile snake sitting in your chair upstairs?
Oh wow! So he saw the same exact thing.
Yeah, he's like, I thought you bought like a mannequin as like a Halloween prop or something, maybe to scare me, or I was like, no, that's our new guy up there, and he enjoys cigars as much as we do, and we've seen him for time. So he confirmed without me even saying a word to him. He just went up there, and he came back down and was like, yeah, he's like, are you serious, dude?
Well, one of the...
That's funny that Jack would call in and talk about cigars.
Yeah, that is really crazy.
That we're cigar enthusiasts as well. So that's cool that he's got a cigar shop. He's having stuff. So either they're calling him, he's got to make some changes at the shop, or maybe restock his cigars, or maybe the snake guy's over there, or he's got a version of that snake guy said, hey, man, you got to fill my humidor up so I can have a smoke?
Well, you bring up the snake thing. I have to bring up one of the pictures we showed last time you guys were on the show that really creeped me out, because I snakes creep me out, was the shadow snake that was following Bill. I got that picture up. Like you guys have so much different kinds of activity, and that I'm showing that picture right now, or actually I'm going to show it here in a second.
Everything based on that way.
But yeah.
Snake eyes, shadow creatures. Yeah. The thing on the side of the heater, which is like, still to this day, Bill calls it like one of the greatest pieces of evidence he's ever seen.
Yeah, I'm going to show that too. The face that looks like Marilyn Manson or something.
The alien snake creature debacle thing, whatever Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, but it was funny because Bill doesn't usually have someone photograph when he's doing the graphic, but he just felt compelled for Chris to have the camera ready, and we did, because he said, someone's following me, and Chris said, yeah, I could see something following you, and I'm going to get the picture of it. And they were chasing it around the basement. It's like, it was just strange.
The snake, the picture of the guy creeps me out. It's really creepy. It looks like Marilyn Manson, but the snake one, that really creeps me out. Like supernatural shadow snakes, that's too much for me, man. That's when I'm out. I'll take the demon Marilyn Manson guy over the snake.
Yeah, there's a lot in that face. We have the yellow eye was looking underneath the table. We had the snake. We had the thing on the heater. We had the hat guy about the steps. We had the voice that we unfortunately didn't capture because I don't know why we didn't bring down the recorder, but, we wanted to do the pictures. But the loud growl that we heard before we captured that thing on the side.
Yeah, well, as soon as Bill said that he was doing his prayers, then he almost had like a protest kind of growl, and here we go again, or like, I'm groaning. But, yeah, I mean, we all heard it. And Bill,
you sent me one audio file. What was the audio file you sent me?
I think, was that possibly the one that I was in my heater down the basement, and it said, shut off the recorder? I think
audio is what it's, I can read off the file. Here, I'm going to play it before we run out of time. It's always good stuff. Hold on. Let me see if we can.
Here's the heater. It's going to make a lot of noise. I'm going to bring this back up right now because I think there's going to be too much noise.
What was that?
Yeah. Well, what it was, I was downstairs trying to do some EVPs, Jason, and I was on the bottom step, and my heater came on, and I said, well, I better shut this off because the heater just came on and it's going to interfere. And I didn't, and then the next thing you know, you heard this thing, and when we heard it clear, it said shut off the recorder. And then I'm still saying I'm going up the stairs now, and I'm going to end this. So it's just that little clip, but
yeah.
I'm gonna play.
Feel free to play that again.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna play that. Let me play that again because I heard that. Hold on.
Oh, there's the heater. It's going to make a lot of noise. I'm going to bring this back up right now because I think there's going to be too much noise. Noise. I'm going to bring this back up right now.
Yeah, I hear the shut off recorder.
Yeah.
That's what we figured.
That's what we heard because.
I got goosebumps from that. Honestly, I really do. I have like goosebumps in my arms for that one. I love EVPs, but man, that one's pretty creepy. And it's loud too.
Yeah. Well, the EVPs we caught even at my friend's house. I mean, some of them are just.
We have hundreds and hundreds.
It's like they're interacting with us because we're talking to his friend and. Like I think it was a little bottle of booze or something that like the things you get on the airplane, and then you found a little bottle, and Chris said, "Yeah." You said, "Yeah, Danny, why don't you take that with you?" And the EVP says, "Drink up, my man," or says, "Drink up."
Yeah, I love EVPs. I'd love to hear some of those sometime because it just fascinates me.
We have about 8 to 10, I think, of the recordings on the audios that we have. I mean that. In fact, in my book. I have, and what I did was I spent hours listening to the EVPs and putting them in the order that if you read my first book, I have the listing of all the EVPs as we were saying things and how it just answered us back. And we didn't know it until we played it back. They go, oh, my God, you can hear us talking, and the thing's just talking right back at us. You know, it's just, I mean, you just could see this total, like, they knew we were there. And like we would say something or you're even almost thinking it and these things are like interacting with you. It's like you're wondering if they're reading your mind after a while. You know, it becomes so crazy or you become paranoid. But that's our life, Jason. I mean, we try to think it with our own life that we have so many things going on. I mean, Chris has a store. We've had stuff at our store, too. Bill's been at our store and blessed our store because we have activity.
Follows us everywhere.
Yeah. In fact, we were doing podcasts. And we caught 2 EVPs and with 2 different podcasts that were really, one was Long Ground.
We just started doing the podcast. We're only up to like 18 podcasts and already 2 different EVPs on 2 different podcasts.
Well, we're experienced with that on this show. I mean, even when we had Bill on, remember, we were getting voices in the background with Bill.
Yeah.
And you guys were on that show.
And who knows after this show what we may have picked up.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, because...
Especially with that getting cut off at like, you know...
Yeah, that was...
Right as we bring up Bill Bean.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Jason, it's been a pleasure, it went fast these couple of hours.
Oh, it
and
does.
We just were talking to you tonight about our experiences.
When is the new book going to be due out? Do you know yet?
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We were hoping kind of for the fall, but it might wind up being like next fall. But hopefully sooner than later. It's getting there. It's just it's a lot to try to compile and get together. But
well, I'd love to have you guys back on when it does. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Chris is just the dreams and stuff that he's had and the people he's interacted with is like a
I could be writing 3 or 4 books by the time now of what we've been through with. I could do it from my perspective, all we've done. I could do like a 3rd book and then my dreams. Who knows? There's so much material.
Well, what's been really gratifying is the response from both of my books and then our stories when we've been on shows that we do have a fan base all around the world. You know, I have people contacting me, Australia, England, Canada, Germany. I mean, you know, they identify with the stories. And as I said, we were not looking for this. It found us. As Bill always says, he said, you know, you can always tell the people that don't really want to promote this or, you know, put it always out there. Like, we try to live our lives because we have to pay the bills and things. And this is just something that we have to live with. But, you know, Bill's been our great supporter, and he keeps things at bay for us pretty much, you know, when he comes up and visits with us. So we're glad to have him in our lives. We're really fortunate.
Well, I'm glad he introduced me to you guys. Thank you so much for being on the show. And like I said, I'd love to have you on again. Maybe get some more EVPs to play or something on the show too, because I'm a big EVP fan. But thank you guys so much. And
thank you.
Would you guys have the website where people can check out? What was the website?
Well, you can you can go to our store website if they want to see Chris's beautiful miniatures, and that's etrminimen.com, which stands for Enter the Realm, but it's etrminimen.com. And then there's
also Enter the Realm on Facebook. There's also Miniature Men on Facebook. 2 different pages. There's a store page, and then there's a miniature page.
And then my books, A State of Horror, and then it's the sequel, Dark Transfer, are both on Amazon and Kindle. And then my website is AnitaJoIntenzo.com, and that will take you to all the different pages and has all the different links and things to the books and all my artwork and stuff too. So we're pretty busy, with all the stuff that we do.
Oh, I bet.
But thanks for having us on the show, Jason. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. That's it for the show, guys. See you next Sunday. We will have Linda Godfrey on. We're going to talk about dogmen. I've been dying to do a show just on dogmen. Linda Godfrey is like probably the best guest I could get for that subject, so I'm really looking forward to that. Same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Check it out on our YouTube page, Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland, or Midwest Paranormal Presents, Paranormal Soup. Check it out there, follow, subscribe, and don't forget we're on Patreon. Check us out on Patreon. $2 a month, you get exclusive access to podcasts. I know I only got the one up there. I was going to do more, but then my basement flooded. So as soon as I get my studio back, which I think will be this week in my own house, I'll be working on a new podcast to put up on exclusive to our Patreon members. So check it out. Go there and subscribe and follow because it helps support this show because YouTube sure as heck ain't going to give me any money. They keep demonetizing every video I pretty much put up. So check it out. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Have a great night.